Chapter 1920. The commotion caused by Baokai coming out of seclusion was quite big. The beast blood in its body surged as a strand of beast deity aura flowed out. Crack! The Saint Cauldron couldn't withstand the impact and began to break into pieces. Baokai roared as it walked out with heavy steps. The light of myriad beasts gushed out from its mouth and nose. Is it a quasi-beast deity now? Su Yin whispered. Baocai's transformation had been great. Bathing in the imperial blood had given it great help. The mysterious skeleton had also said that this lineage's Tao was quite tyrannical and difficult to cultivate. It was very easy to refine oneself into a cripple. The beast god Orthodoxy's path of evolution was now bathed in the Emperor's blood. The light of 10,000 beasts was about to merge together and faintly outline the shadow of a prehistoric giant beast that filled the sky, representing the beast god lineage. Boom! Baokai reached out with its claw and tore through the void. Its entire claw flowed with resplendent radiance, as if myriad beasts were descending. It turned into a true dragon, a golden roc spreading its wings, a white tiger roaring, and a dragon snake dancing. The murderous power was earth-shattering, capable of destroying myriad arts. This attack truly possessed some of the demeanor of the beast deity Tao. Big Goldie checked and found that Baocai's path was almost complete. However, it was still lacking a bit of maturity. Baokai had come out of seclusion bathed in imperial blood, which meant that this path would be less difficult in the future. He believed that Baokai would be able to break through. Bamboo Moon's cultivation had stepped into the Daesong realm's fifth layer. The two girls were peerlessly charming. One had the light of myriad swords revolving around her body, while the other intimidated the universe. They were both peerless. If only Daesong had come out earlier. Su Yin secretly thought. He didn't know how much Daesong had gained in the burial realm Fortune Mountain. A 10 transformations true dragon had a great chance of awakening the power of its past life. In fact, Long Daesong's path to becoming an expert was much easier than Su Yin and the others. Long Daesong had hopes of becoming an emperor in the future. Back then, the Long Daesong had swallowed more than 100 drops of emperor's blood in succession to replenish his losses. While exploring the emperor's road, he had been hunted down and almost died. Back then, Long Daesong should have been an immortal king, a 9 transformations true dragon, a terrifying immortal king-level beast. Similarly, the Long Daesong was the guardian of the mysterious dragon coffin lying on top of the snowy mountain. Once Su Yin awakened the memories of his previous life, he would be able to figure out the origins of the coffin. He also couldn't forget how he had helped Long Daesong complete a super strong transformation with the help of the strange soil. Where did that soil come from? Su Yin still couldn't figure it out. Perhaps its origin was even greater than the 9-colored soil. Unfortunately, this soil was too special and he didn't know how to use it. Even Fairy Xia, when her original body died, she left behind an incarnation to bury herself in the soil and survive. This soil was too magical. It must be a precious soil that stole the fortune of heaven and earth. Its origin was definitely extraordinary, containing the ability to bring the dead back to life. It could be called a great reincarnation soil. Let's go to the first mountain quickly. Su Yin urged them to move quickly. The great immortal demon war had begun. This was the only chance to compete for a spot in the war. He couldn't miss it. The Immortal Cave gave up 3 spots to give the world's experts a chance. However, climbing the first mountain was as difficult as ascending the heavens. In the past, those who were qualified to climb, it were all geniuses and overlords. Similarly, Su Yin didn't want Fairy Xia and the others to participate in the war. The death rate was too high. Suddenly, Baokai perfected the beast god Tao and could be called a peerless genius. However, in the great immortal demon war of the past, even peerless geniuses would die in battle. What? The teleportation array is gone? Su Yan's eyes widened. This time, bathing in the Emperor's blood took a long time. He thought that 3 to 5 days would be enough. Who knew that 9 days and 9 nights would pass? Yes, you have to wait. There are too many cultivators going to the first mountain to watch the war. The person in charge of a trans-realm teleportation array explained with a smile. Business had been booming these days, and he was counting money until his hands were sore. The latest is tomorrow night. Bao Cai's eyes widened. Wasn't that another day and night of delay? According to the information he received, there were less than 2 days left before the first mountain would open. Mu Xian asked other places, and the situation was almost the same. The fastest one would have to wait an entire day. However, the destination of the trans-realm teleportation array would not be the first mountain. They would have to continue traveling. Don't be impatient. Don't be impatient. The old man stroked his beard and laughed. The opening of the first mountain in the world is the biggest event in the celestial world. Although you can see the glory of the Ingjia of various races, climbing the first mountain is very difficult. Actually, 1 or 2 days later is not a big deal. You will definitely be able to admire the glory of the kings of the world. Admire what? Bao Cai shouted. They should be admiring this beast god. The old man blew his beard and widened his eyes. Wasn't this boasting too much? If these people really had a background and status, why would they need to borrow their teleportation array? If you're late, you won't be qualified to climb the mountain, Mu Xian said nervously. If you delay for too long, you will definitely miss the opportunity. This time, there are only 3 spots. There will probably be many experts participating in the deity's cave. If you miss it, you will lose the qualification to participate in the war. Don't just stand there. Let's go. We still have time. Su Yin and the others left in a hurry. This place was thousands of ancient realms away from the first mountain. With their speed, it would be too late. This bunch of lunatics. The old man's face almost turned green. He slammed the table in front of him and roared, "Are you crazy? You talk as if you can all climb to the top. Do you know what the first mountain is? I think it's a bunch of barbarians from barren mountains and turbulent rivers. I'm so angry. You want to participate in the war? How ridiculous." The onlookers smiled bitterly. They really thought they were a bunch of lunatics. Su Yin and the others quickly gathered in a shop that owned a large-scale teleportation array. They paid a huge price to open the trans-realm teleportation array and shorten the journey by half. Mu Xian, we will rely on you. Goldie is still injured. Moreover, he is not in a good condition to fight. You have to go as fast as you can. You must rush to the first mountain before it opens. Understood. Mu Xian's face was tense. She felt that the task was difficult. Watch carefully. With the immortal phoenix wings, I will rush to the first mountain as fast as possible. Go! As soon as they rushed out of the city, Mu Xian's aura was extremely strong. She flapped her wings and flew to the end of the horizon. What the hell? Some large mountains were overturned. The passers-by couldn't see clearly what kind of creature was flying across the sky. It was almost like an immortal king flying. Along the way, Su Yin and the others kept using their pure energy to maintain Mu Xian's peak condition, ensuring that she could maintain her peak speed as she crossed the ancient realm. The giant wings tore through space and time. Mu Xian's speed kept increasing. Her face was flushed red. She erupted with her strongest power and rushed toward the first mountain. The first mountain of the celestial world. Its grandeur was unimaginable. This mountain might not open even once in millions of years. Some forbidden experts who had lived for most of their lives were seeing the first mountain for the first time. However, the billions of creatures gathered here seemed insignificant in front of the first mountain of the celestial world. Why is it so tall? Everyone was stunned. This mountain was too grand. The sun, moon, and stars in the sky were like dust flowing around the mountainside. It was really like a river of stars. Looking up, they couldn't see the peak of the first mountain at all. It towered into the sea of stars in the universe. In the history of the first mountain's opening, those who had the qualifications to reach the peak were extremely rare. Without an unrivaled peak combat strength, reaching the peak was no different from a fool's dream. It's too big. This is a miracle of life. I feel like this mountain is alive. Some were as big as a person's head. They were just a drop in the ocean. The entire Silver Mountain covered millions of miles in diameter. The inconceivably grand mountain reached into the sky. There was no end in sight. Even if an expert opened their heavenly eyes and looked into the distance, they would feel a little dizzy. It was very influential. It seemed to lead to the end of the universe. There were also some relative legends. Some people said that the number one mountain under the heavens was actually a weapon. Even immortal kings wouldn't choose to believe this legend. It was too fake. What kind of weapon could be so huge and grand? Even immortal kings couldn't move it and use it as a weapon. Boom! Half a day later, a vast wave spread out. The flowing power was too shocking. Heaven and earth trembled along with it. A figure gradually appeared. At first, it seemed very calm. Slowly, heaven and earth darkened. Primal chaos flowed. An ancient figure appeared. He was like a god who created the heavens, emitting great divine might. Immortal king, everyone was alarmed. This was an immortal king who came. However, despite this being the case, before the first mountain's shadow, this immortal king was still a bit lacking. Then just how astonishing was this mountain exactly? It was rumored that this mountain was a miracle of life. It accompanied the beginning of the immortal realm, so it might very well produce rare, supreme treasures. Its origins were unimaginably great. Primal chaos, immortal elder. There were a few powerful clans, and even emperor clans whose identities and statuses were formidable. They all walked up and greeted respectfully. The surroundings erupted into commotion. Immortal Elder Academy's immortal elder's true body descended, dressed in black robes. The boundless space-time became dark. This person had served an immortal Elder Academy for an endless amount of time, an esteemed guest in any emperor clan. His appearance couldn't be seen clearly. A powerful soul fluctuation was released, spreading through space-time. Those who make it halfway up the mountain can enter Immortal Cave to study for 10 years. The outer regions of the 4 great purgatories can become Immortal Cave's outer region disciples. Those who make it through the trials of the 3 great purgatories can become Immortal Cave's core disciples. Those who make it to the peak can become Immortal Cave's most powerful seed, rewarded with 1,000,000 points. Heaven and earth seem to have exploded, cheers echoing through the entire world. 1,000,000 points. Immortal Cave is going all out this time. This time, there is a group of Immortal Cave heavenly geniuses who came to participate. 1,000,000 points made them tremble. This was 1,000,000 points, a terrifying number that made them tremble. Immortal Cave's heavenly geniuses were all too clear. 1,000,000 points was a tremendous amount of wealth. They could be exchanged for a sea of treasures in Immortal Cave, because what they opposed was 1,000,000 gene of immortal source. Even immortal source couldn't be bought with points. Immortal Cave gathered the immortal realm's most powerful reserves, the treasury containing heavenly rare supreme treasures. Thus, in Immortal Cave, as long as one grasped a large amount of points, they could exchange for treasures that everyone yearned for even in their dreams. These were resources that even emperor clans sighed in amazement. As long as they could reach the peak, they could obtain 1,000,000 points reward. However, a few people shook their heads and sighed when they thought about it. Since ancient times, how many people had climbed up? Each time it opened, there would at most be 1 or 2. Perhaps they were all Immortal Cave's heavenly geniuses. The experts of the Tenrai of Beach faction laughed. The opening of the first mountain this time was suggested by Elder Lacien. His goal was to let his most prized son become famous in a single battle, spread his name throughout the immortal realm, and become a peerless genius. There is even a possibility that this mountain was born together with the immortal realm. It contained supreme, heaven-splitting, profound mysteries, and it was very likely that there was an earth-shattering inheritance. There were many legends about this mountain, but none of them could be verified. It wasn't just the number 1 mountain of the immortal realm. It was also a place to measure the number of geniuses in the world. It was also filled with mysteries and legends. Until now, no expert had uncovered the secrets of the first mountain. For example, there were always some things that even emperor clans couldn't understand or explore in Burial Realm's Emperor's Repository Tao Cave. Open. The Chaos Immortal Boss waved his hand. The number 1 mountain rumbled, as if a slumbering fiend god had erupted. This mountain emitted endless heavenly might, causing the heavens to tremble and the universe to tremble. It radiated out to tens of thousands of worlds. The first mountain, Su Yin and the others were already close. They were all dumbfounded. Wasn't this too big? It was like a slumbering giant of heaven and earth, vast and boundless. They had thought that the million-foot-tall mountain in Burial Realm was outrageous enough, but here in the Immortal Realm, there was an immeasurably huge mountain. It was majestic to the extreme, like the backbone of the Immortal Realm, and also seemed to lead to the ultimate destination. Chapter 1921. The title of the greatest mountain in the world was well-deserved. It was difficult to measure. It possessed supreme heavenly might, and the mountain was majestic to the extreme. Its entire body was blazing with light, and it was terrifying beyond compare. Just a few energy ripples were enough to shake the sea of stars. Divine power spread throughout the sky. The old experts trembled and felt as if their bodies were about to shatter. What a terrifying mountain! The people were even more shocked. It was just the opening, and had already caused such a powerful storm. Some people even suspected that the first mountain was a supreme treasure. How powerful was this mountain? If it could be refined into a supreme treasure, it would be hard to imagine. However, even the great emperors would gasp in amazement. In fact, no emperor clan had ever thought about it before. Unfortunately, they had all given up. There was once an emperor clan who speculated that even if they used the power of an entire clan, it would take a long time to refine it. The price was something that even the emperor clan could not bear. As time passed, the greatest mountain in the world became the standard to measure the geniuses in the world. Charge! Countless living beings roared. Countless cultivators charged toward the first mountain. As long as they could charge out of the first mountain's 4 trial spaces, they could become a disciple of the outer region of the Immortal Cave. Even if they could only cultivate for a period of time, it would have a huge impact on their future. Who would not be envious and excited? The mountain was majestic and could carry countless living beings up the mountain. However, in an instant, large groups of cultivators trembled. They could not withstand the pressure at all. This mountain was like a giant spirit of the world, and also like a sleeping giant. The pressure that it emitted was difficult for most people to resist. They had just started climbing the mountain, and a large group of people had already been eliminated. This made the older generation dumbfounded. It seemed that the difficulty was great. Climbing 80,000 feet was an extremely difficult challenge. It was already good enough that 99% of them could climb halfway up the mountain. Heavens, who is that? There were also people who cried out loudly. Even though large amounts of people had been eliminated, the tens of millions of creatures who had withstood the first wave of pressure were still charging forward. Among them, there was a figure that flourished with silver radiance that was like a heaven-opening Holy Spirit. In that instant, it erupted, and a path was opened up within the crowd. A large group of cultivators was sent flying. They were dizzy and fell to the bottom of the mountain, trembling. A terrifying silver divine spirit took a step forward and charged toward the first mountain at a shocking speed. Its speed was so abnormal that it made people tremble. Because of its continuous outbursts, it triggered a thunderstorm. The sky was filled with lightning, and thick lightning bolts made it look like a sun of lightning. It contained an indescribable vitality. "It's him," Spider Rock shouted in shock. "It's the Tenrai of Beach. What a terrifying speed. Just how powerful is the Heavenly Thunder King?" Tenrai. What a joke. The two of them are not on the same level. Spider Rock's heart was filled with respect. It was natural for it to hold a grudge against Su Yin, especially when his name was listed on the challenge letter. It snorted. Although it admitted that Su Yin was extremely powerful, it would never admit that Su Yin was qualified to be listed on the challenge letter, on the same level as King Tianwu and the others. Su Yin had disappeared for 10 years, right? He was nowhere to be seen on the first mountain. He must have been scared back to his hometown. "Look, who's that?" Someone shouted in shock. "Look!" Finally, There was a figure whose speed was not inferior to heavenly Thunder King's. He was wearing a beast skin coat, and his entire body was filled with a savage aura. His body was quite sturdy, and his bronze skin was filled with masculinity. He took large strides up the mountain. The faster he sprinted, the more vigorous and powerful the blood chi released from his body. Gradually, a huge figure appeared behind him. It was like a savage war god trampling the heavens. Savage, desolate emperor race. How many eras has this race been silent for? Is this the birth of a new barbaric war god? The Emperor clan of the Wildlands was an extremely ancient clan in the immortal world. However, the Emperor clan of this clan had almost died in the Three Realms battlefield. As time passed, this clan gradually declined and was about to lose its glory as an Emperor clan. That monkey is so shocking. He seems to have just become a king not long ago. Could he be the next Sky Sage King? There were also people who stared at a monkey king. Its golden shell of flesh blossomed with boundless blood and chi radiance as it charged towards the world's #1 mountain. There were many creatures like the Monkey King. There were over 100 influential figures of the younger generation. All of them were charging up with all their might. No one wanted to fall behind. The first mountain had just opened. It was still too early to determine the victor. There were still some young experts who had hidden their strength and were preparing to charge at the crucial moment. It's already opened. Hurry! Su Yan's group had arrived. They were charging rapidly towards the first mountain. Halt! You are not allowed to approach the first mountain. Go and observe from afar. In an instant, a group of guards rushed over and blocked Su Yan's group, forbidding them from approaching the first mountain. We've traveled a long way and came late. We want to participate in the first mountain selection. Su Yan cupped his hands and said, Are you kidding? A peak emperor frowned and shouted, This is the first mountain's grand meeting. You guys have no sense of time. Just leave if you're late. There's no need to climb the mountain. They were all law enforcers of the immortal cave. Their auras were powerful and dignified. They did not want them to climb the mountain. Su Yan said anxiously, Brothers, please make things easy for us. We're just a little delayed. You can't wait to climb the mountain. Looks like you have some skills. The leader, a peak emperor, was awe-inspiring. He said indifferently, If you can take a palm strike from me, I'll let you climb the mountain. If not, scram. Some people around shook their heads. They had come late at such an important moment. They did not take it seriously. After all, he was a peak emperor. Those who climbed the mountain were all saints. How could he take a palm strike from him? Su Yan directly punched him. This made the peak emperor furious. Could it be that he was just saying it casually? He did not expect that this brat would really dare to make a move. Was he not afraid that his arm would break? Suppress. The peak emperor waved his large hand and struck down from all directions. He did not hold back at all. Su Yan threw a punch. This was a pure contest of physical strength. Su Yan was not afraid. His punch broke the peak emperor's arm, and his body was almost sent flying. I'm sorry, I was a little heavy-handed. I'll apologize to you later. Su Yan hurriedly rushed in. The people around were dumbfounded. What was going on? What kind of physical body was this? It was too shocking. Some people even suspected that this was a real dragon's transformation. Although the emperor mainly cultivated the Dharma idol, which was the way of heaven and earth, he was still an emperor. How could he not be able to withstand the power of a punch from a great saint? It was a little ridiculous. The older generation was speechless. What was the background of this person? He might even be qualified to join the Immortals' Cave. Su Yan's attack made the peak emperor doubt his life. He was in so much pain that he almost cried. He cursed in his heart. What kind of freak is this? He was almost sent flying. He had lost a lot of face. What are you doing? Is that so? Step back. The peak emperor's eyes were bloodshot, and he wanted to kill someone. Baokai also came. Didn't we agree that I can climb the mountain if I take one of your attacks? Baokai stretched out its large claws and wanted to fight with him. Damn you. Do you really think I'm a piece of garlic? The peak emperor was so angry that his nose was crooked. A ferocious beast dared to behave atrociously. This time he used all his strength. He was determined to teach these barbarians a lesson. Boom! Baokai waved its large claws, and in an instant, it became much more terrifying. It could be said that it tore through the sky and stirred up a beast tide that covered the Peak Emperor. The onlookers were dumbfounded and could not say a word. There was no doubt that the Peak Emperor's arm trembled again. Although it was not broken, his palm and fingers were bleeding, and the white bones could be seen. What kind of monster was this? Two of them came out at once and directly threatened the Peak Emperor's physical body. They could all see that neither Su Yin nor Tai Baokai used the magic power in their bodies. It was really a pure contest of physical strength. In fact, the stronger the physical body, the better it was to explore the world's #1 mountain. There was a huge advantage. The Peak Emperor's companions broke out in cold sweat. He had lost a lot of face. Fortunately, he was not one of them. He thought to himself, "Why are you pretending for nothing? Can't you just let them in?" The Peak Emperor was really going crazy. Su Yin and Baokai had left, but Fairy Zixia had come. Although the mysterious skeleton did not want them to expose their ultimate skills, it was not too much to walk halfway up the mountain and cultivate in the Immortal's Cave for 10 years, right? What are you doing? The Peak Emperor was so angry that his face and neck were red. Who did he offend? I want to climb the mountain. Fairy Zixia urged. Hurry up, don't waste my time. The Peak Emperor roared. She was too much of a bully. A delicate-looking woman dared to bully him. Did she really think he was made of paper? Boom! He directly raised his foot and suppressed Fairy Zixia, who knew that as soon as he kicked out, Fairy Zixia slapped him, causing him to fall to the ground. The people around stared at each other. Why did they feel that this was more exciting than climbing the mountain? A group of Daesong bullying a Peak Emperor? Me too. Hurry up. Bamboo Moon also came. She was elegant, with snow-white skin and fluttering black hair. She waved her hand and came over. The injured emperor's head was like a rattle drum. I'm not coming. I'm really not coming. Hurry up and leave. Pretend that I didn't see you. However, the injured emperor looked at the area where Bamboo Moon was heading, and endless cold air rushed out of his body. What the hell is this kid? The black-clothed man who was the first to severely injure him. His method of climbing the mountain was a little ridiculous. A loud sound suddenly exploded, causing many people's ears to ring as if they were struck by lightning. Who is it? The commotion was too great. Countless experts from various races who had raised their heads to watch instantly landed at the source of the commotion. At the same time, they cried out in alarm. They saw a figure bending his knees and suddenly rising from the ground, forcibly crashing through the entire void. Boom! The void exploded. Su Yan's aura was completely different. His figure crossed the void and tore through the sky. A terrifying crack that was hundreds of thousands of feet long appeared. Su Yin rushed to the top of the sky and stepped on the world's #1 mountain, launching a terrifying charge. Chapter 1922. What the hell? Who's that? The whole world was in an uproar. The older generation was dumbfounded. They saw a blazing figure suddenly rise from the ground and rush to the top of the firmament. Boom! The ground Su Yan's feet stepped on seemed to explode. Loud noises filled the sky. If it weren't for the hard ground, the ground would have collapsed instantly. A group of cultivators who were preparing to climb the mountain trembled and spat out mouthfuls of blood. They staggered and felt dizzy. Even their souls were trembling. They were terrified. Was this a god of war? Su Yan's body was like a terrifying comet. He traversed the void, wrapped in monstrous divine power, and charged toward the #1 mountain in the world. Along the way, a large number of creatures who were climbing the first mountain were affected by the aura emitted by Su Yan's body. The back of their heads was burning as if they were being cut and about to burst. Who's that? They were all dumbfounded. These people were climbing the mountain with all their strength to catch up with the contestants. After all, the quota of the Immortal's Cave was limited. It couldn't be open to everyone. Otherwise, the burden on the Immortal's Cave would be too great. But now, a person was climbing the mountain in such a ridiculous way. It was unheard of. They were all dumbfounded. Su Yin charged at least hundreds of thousands of feet in one breath. The hearts of the older generation were in turmoil. Their eyes were fixed on Su Yan's figure. His entire body's divine power was surging. Just as he stood there, he encountered a pressure that could topple mountains and overturn seas. However, Su Yan's body was as calm as a celestial king and contained great spirit. At this moment, he looked peerlessly terrifying. His divine power was boiling, showing a peerless, domineering aura. Who's this guy? The experts who came to watch the ceremony were shocked. This young man's body was too shocking. The top of his head shot out a vast light of chi and blood, causing heaven and earth to tremble. The pressure that was pressuring him was automatically destroyed, triggering the sound of thunder. Many people were stunned. This body was ridiculously strong. It was like a humanoid dragon had been resurrected and was charging toward the top of the mountain. What a sensationalist! Find out who this kid is immediately. The experts of the Tenrai of Beek's lineage had gloomy expressions. The attention of the Tenrai of Beek shifted to Su Yan. This made them flustered and exasperated. Wasn't this stealing the limelight? Does he look familiar? Luan Peng's expression flickered incessantly. He wanted to observe at a close distance, but Su Yan's divine power overflowed all over his body. His speed soared wildly, leaving Luan Peng's group far behind. Moreover, Su Yan's aura had changed too much over the years. Those who weren't familiar with him wouldn't be able to connect him to the equal heaven's sage king, Su Yan. After all, Su Yan had arrived late. The charge at the first mountain was a race against time. They had to fight for a spot. Roar! Suddenly, just as Su Yan was about to overtake the Monkey King's group of experts in the second tier, a black-robed man with a savage aura suddenly surged. His body of flesh and blood emitted a monstrous light. A pitch-black scorpion vaguely appeared behind him. The void was torn apart. The black-robed man's speed soared. He wasn't the only one. One after another, the young experts who were hiding their strength went berserk. They couldn't watch as they were overtaken by the latecomers. After all, the charge at the first mountain couldn't be stopped along the way. Otherwise, it would end in failure. These people could only conserve their strength and charge at the crucial moment. They all had the conviction to reach the peak. Dong, dong, dong. Su Yan's steps were thunderous. No matter how fast these experts were, they couldn't overtake Su Yan. Even the distance between them and him was shrinking. Shrinking. Heavens, who is this person? The entire world was shaken. After all, Su Yan was the latecomer. However, he started to overtake his opponents one by one. Su Yan, haha, you really came. The Monkey King caught a hint of familiarity and calmed down. Su Yan had come. All these years, the old Monkey King had been paying special attention to Su Yan's movements. However, he had disappeared for a full 10 years. Brother Monkey King, I'll go first. Su Yan strode forward. He was very fast. Dragon Scorpion, such a rare creature, has actually appeared. The first mountain's appeal is too strong. They are all qualified to enter the core area of the Immortal Cave. Look, there are hundreds of creatures chasing after them. Impressive. I didn't expect so many geniuses with extraordinary potential to stand out. Someone was speechless. The black-robed man had no choice but to reveal his original appearance. A pitch-black scorpion with the light of a true dragon rising from its body. In an instant, it tore through the seal in the sky and suddenly charged forward. Moreover, it wasn't just a dragon scorpion. There were more than 10 terrifying creatures. There were members of the Emperor clan, hidden geniuses, and noble kings. More than 10 experts erupted at the same time. Divine power surged and surged. It was indescribably terrifying. They attacked together and wouldn't let Su Yan surpass them. Dong, dong, dong. Su Yan took one step after another. His black hair danced wildly and divine light shot out in all directions from his eyes. The heavier his footsteps were, the more shocking the aura became. In the end, it formed a rhythmic, pulsating sound. More than 10 creatures were terrified. Who was this person who was about to surpass them? No matter how fast they were, even if they burned part of their life essence blood, they couldn't shake off the distance between them and Su Yan. Moreover, Su Yan was gradually overtaking them. Every step was like thunder. The moment it rolled into their hearts, the pressure, made them feel a little suffocated. An invincible overlord of the present age? At this moment, more than 10 Jia with extraordinary talents sighed in their hearts. This was the gap between them. They couldn't help but admit that the one who surpassed them was too terrifying. He's third. Many people felt a headache coming on. What kind of monster was this? He was already third and was chasing after the experts of the Man Wang tribe. He was as fast as lightning and didn't stop at all. How terrifying was his physical body. Look, there's a creature chasing after us from below. A heated discussion broke out below. They saw a giant panda with black and white fur charging up. Its 4 big claws danced as it sped up madly, chasing after the group of people from the dragon scorpion. It's him. I've seen him before. Someone was shocked and whispered. During the Battle of the Royal City, he was one of the people who overturned the Xian people's official residence. Su Yan, the equal Heaven Sage King. Could he be here too? Many people gasped. They found it hard to believe. How could this be? A living creature by Su Yan's side was actually ridiculously powerful. Logically speaking, the bout-sized charge was so fierce. Su Yan should be stronger than it. But why wasn't Su Yan here? Could it be? Someone's heart trembled. He pointed at the third place and said in a trembling voice, "Could he be? That's impossible. How many years has it been since Su Yan became a Daesong?" Someone immediately retorted, "The equal Heaven Sage King who defeated the Heavenly Astral King back, then suddenly became stronger, but definitely not to this level." After all, the Dragon Scorpion was a genius with shocking potential. He was even more terrifying than the Heavenly Astral King. When the experts of the Xian people and other tribes learned about Su Yan, their faces darkened. The tribe had once set up an inescapable trap in the burial realm, waiting for Su Yan to open the treasure. Unfortunately, 10 years had passed, and not even a shadow was seen. Even their people had died. Now, this person who had disappeared for 10 years, could he have appeared? After all, Su Yan's name was on the letter of challenge. He was now quite famous. Although there were many doubts, he was still a true noble. Bamboo Moon and the others were not in a hurry. They did not take the mysterious skeleton's warning lightly. In fact, if the long Daesong came, it would not be difficult for him to reach the peak. If that was the case, it would be strange if the Xian people didn't suspect them. The Tenrai of Beach is already 1,000,000 feet tall. As expected of a peerless genius, it is not difficult for him to reach the peak. Everyone was amazed. The Tenrai of Beach was already 1,000,000 feet tall in such a short time. The war god of the Man Wang tribe is almost there too. Some people were also looking at the man in the beast skin coat. The battle blood of the Man Wang tribe flowed in his body. His majestic body was burning with flames. He was really like a young war god who was climbing the mountain. Look, the third person is getting closer and closer to the war god of the Man Wang tribe. The commotion was even greater. One had to know that this was the war god of the Man Wang tribe. It was rare for one to be born in 1,000,000 years. To be ranked second was enough to show how powerful and prosperous this person was. But now, Su Yan's charging speed was too fast. His figure was a little blurry and terrifying. The pressure in the sky was shaking like a piece of paper. 10,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 100 feet. When he was only 100 feet away, the young war god of the Man Wang tribe let out a low roar. His body's aura became ferocious. His explosive power was even stronger and more powerful. It could be said that his strength was boundless. The pressure suddenly increased. He was unafraid and charged forward fiercely. However, he discovered a shocking problem. Su Yan's aura was also climbing. He was like an immortal saint who had crossed the ancient land. His body was full of golden qi and blood. He was like a human emperor who had existed since ancient times. The sky was pressing down on Su Yan. The laws of order were trembling, wailing, and about to explode. "You are very strong," the war god of the Man Wang tribe said solemnly. Su Yan was already on par with him. He knew that he couldn't be as crazy as Su Yan with just his physical body. Heaven and earth couldn't suppress him. Even the laws of order were trembling. It was as if a huge crack was about to appear. "See you at the peak," Su Yan replied. His eyes fell on the Tenrai of Beach. At this moment, the Tenrai of Beach was also increasing his speed. He emitted a rain of thunder and lightning. He wanted to tear apart the laws of heaven and earth. Every step he took could cross hundreds of feet. Because he was so fast, he left behind afterimages. You might not be able to surpass me. The war god of the Manhuang tribe roared. His tribe's unique bloodline was burning. He seemed to have gone berserk. His body burned with golden flames. His speed was shocking as he chased after Su Yan. What? Look. The foot of the mountain was in an uproar. Many experts who were looking at Su Yan were shocked. This person had completely changed. His body was steaming with resplendent light. Together with the majestic aura of heaven burial, it pressed down on heaven and earth. The laws of order in the sky were buried. In an instant, Su Yan's aura was terrifying beyond compare. His feet stepped out, and it was as if he had shrunk the ground into an inch. Roar! Su Yan let out a long roar. His black hair danced in the wind. His essence, energy, and spirit were too terrifying. His ancient physique was awakened. He buried the laws of heaven and earth and crossed tens of thousands of feet. The scene that appeared in the eyes of the people was unbelievable. He crossed tens of thousands of feet. His golden feet smashed into the mountain. Behind him, the sovereign of heaven and earth faintly appeared. He wanted to suppress the 9 heavens and 10 lands. This foot was domineering. It wanted to trample on the heavens and command the laws of heaven and earth. It stomped on the Tenrai of Beach's head. Chapter 1923. With a loud bang, the Tenrai of Beach's afterimage was blasted apart. The sky was filled with a rain of energy. At this moment, Su Yan had already reached a height of 1,000,000 feet. His majestic back seemed a bit blurry. However, his ferocious aura was even more vigorous and tyrannical. His golden foot suddenly crossed a distance of 10,000 feet and crushed the afterimage left behind by the Tenrai of Beach. Everyone was dumbfounded. They felt that Su Yan was doing this on purpose. Otherwise, how could there be such a coincidence and crush the Tenrai of Beach's afterimage? Bastard! The experts from the Tenrai of Beach's lineage were livid. They were so angry that their lungs were trembling. How preposterous! Acting so tyrannical in front of everyone? What was the difference between this and slapping one's face in public? Wasn't this too unbridled? Arrogant. Isn't this too arrogant? This area was in an uproar as countless people discussed fervently. Currently, the Tenrai of Beach was number 1 and might even remain number 1. After all, this was a natural-born, innate thunder physique. Who would dare to target and humiliate him like this? Arrogant. An old expert laughed and said, "You people need to be responsible for your words. Go and ask those who are climbing the mountain, how many of them can do this? How many of them can withstand the suppression of the heaven and earth's grand Tao and cross 10,000 feet?" The moment these words came out, everyone became silent. They had overlooked the most important question. The expert in second place had continuously surpassed everyone along the way. Moreover, he had crossed 10,000 feet in a tyrannical manner. Who could do this? This was not arrogance, but rather the fact that he had the combat strength of a peak expert of his generation. As for the speculation that it was Su Yan, they didn't believe it. They didn't think that a young expert from the mortal world could do this. I can't see through him. There were also experts who opened their heavenly eyes to look into the distance. Unfortunately, the might of the number 1 mountain was too vast, and they were unable to see through it completely. Moreover, even if they could see through it in the entire immortal world, there were very few people who had seen Su Yan before. In fact, Baokai was now listed as the second dark horse. It was about to charge into the second echelon. Naturally, the suppression it encountered during its mad dash was becoming more and more abnormal. However, this also stimulated the light of 10,000 beasts that gushed out of Baotsai's body to become even more brilliant. Vaguely, Baokai felt that he would have to fuse with the power of 10,000 beasts under the crushing pressure of the first mountain. Roar! I am the beast god. Baokai let out a low roar as it began to hypnotize itself again. Moreover, It was using the first mountain as a training ground, borrowing the majestic pressure of the first mountain to perfect its beast deity Tao. This kid's physical body is even stronger than the young god of war of the desolate tribe. Chaos Immortal Elder began to pay attention to Su Yin. Even in the core region of the Immortal Cave, it was difficult to find many people with such a powerful physical body. Perhaps he was almost qualified to stand shoulder to shoulder with the likes of the Heavenly Power King. In the past, the Heavenly Power King and the others had naturally reached the peak. Chaos Immortal Elder knew that the Tenrai of Beach had just finished his Tao demonstration, and his foundation was naturally unfathomable. It was as if he was born with good fortune, and his foundation could be said to be unprecedented. In the past, there were very few who could compare to him. He wasn't exaggerating the Tenrai of Beach, but this was the truth. One had to know that the ancestors of the desolate tribe were very impressive. They focused on cultivating the physical body, and each generation produced the invincible Ingjia. Moreover, once the desolate tribe's desolate battle blood ignited, they would immediately go berserk. However, they still couldn't catch up to the Tenrai of Beach. Was there a need to doubt the Tenrai of Beach? However, what surprised Chaos Immortal Elder was that the desolate tribe's war god wasn't ranked second, but third. Su Yin was madly rushing forward, and the boundless saint power in his body was boiling. Every step he took crushed the afterimages left by the Tenrai of Beach. This made countless spectators dumbfounded. What kind of deep hatred did these two have? Bastard! Who is this person? The experts of the Tenrai of Beach's lineage had an ugly expression. Su Yin was getting closer and closer to the Tenrai of Beach. If he was allowed to continue chasing, wouldn't Su Yin directly overtake him? The first mountain under the heavens was proposed by Thunder Immortal Elder. If Su Yin really took the peach, it would be a big joke. At that time, Thunder Immortal Elder proposed to open the first mountain, and said that his son must take first place. Heavens, I feel that his speed is getting faster and faster. What kind of monster is this? The whole world was shocked. Su Yin could still continue to erupt. His ancient physique bloomed, and the world darkened as if the great Tao of the heavens had been buried. He was chasing the Tenrai of Beach at a shocking speed. The experts of the older generation also felt their heartbeats quicken. A reversal was about to happen. Was this a reversal? Now, the Tenrai of Beach had already rushed to 2 million feet. This was the boundary to become a disciple of the outer region. However, how long did it take for the Tenrai of Beach to reach this point? Under normal circumstances, one wouldn't be able to stand here without a few days and nights. However, for these people, it had only been a few hours. It was so terrifying that it made people feel intimidated. He rushed out. Look, the Tenrai of Beach has rushed to an even more difficult stage. His figure gradually became blurry, as if he had fallen into a fiery domain. His speed was much slower, and the sky was filled with raging flames. Saints who fell and would be in danger of being burned to death. Without a doubt, this was a dangerous area. There had been challengers who had been burned to death inside. The difficulty was increasing and soaring. However, in the next moment, everyone was shocked. Su Yin, who had rushed into the sea of flames, completely ignored the burning flames. Like an immortal and indestructible god of war, he suddenly broke through the sky and pounced, infinitely close to the Tenrai of Beach. He had overtaken him. He surpassed him. Countless people roared, their blood boiling. He was about to surpass him. He was about to surpass him. How could the Tenrai of Beach be willing to give up? His entire body blazed, and endless lightning spewed out of his pores. He tore through the layers of the sea of flames and crossed into the distance, not allowing anyone to surpass him. However, it was useless. It was completely useless. Su Yin was walking on flat ground. No matter how strong the sea of flames was, he was not affected. His body burned with holy power, and suddenly he was on par with the Tenrai of Beach. Lightning shot out of the Tenrai of Beach's silver pupils. He glanced sideways at the figure that had surpassed him and shouted coldly, "Su Yin, did you hear that?" This voice was like a clap of thunder. It came from top to bottom, causing a storm along the way. They were no stranger to Su Yin. His name was on a letter of challenge, and he was one of the geniuses that the dark world wanted to kill. Back then, the heavens' equal sage king joined forces with several nobles to massacre the Xian people's official residence, beat up the heavenly astral king, and rejected the invitation of the immortal cave. He was no longer a nobody. Now that this name had appeared, it was as if it had magic, causing a stir in the first mountain. The person who had surpassed the Tenrai of Beach was Su Yin, who they had been doubting for a long time. This is impossible. The experts from the Tenrai of Beach's lineage screamed shrilly, their eyes bloodshot. The man who had surpassed the Tenrai of Beach was Su Yin, the heavens' equal sage king, who had beaten up Little Thunder. This is heaven-defying. This was a huge piece of news, and all the major clans cried out in shock. The Tenrai of Beach had been surpassed by his opponent. This was a great humiliation because Su Yin was now in first place. He was like a fish in water in the fire domain, completely unaffected. This bastard must have cultivated the fire path. Otherwise, he would not have been unaffected. The Tenrai of Beach lost so unjustly. He cheated. The old experts from the Tenrai of Beach's lineage were so angry that their bodies began to tremble. They had thought that the Tenrai of Beach was already in first place. But now, the scene before them was unimaginable. The Tenrai of Beach had lost to Su Yin. The people nearby were speechless. What was cheating? Couldn't bear to see Su Yin rise? Impudent! What are you making such a racket? The Chaos Immortal Elder reprimanded. What kind of place was this? The experts from the Tenrai of Beach's lineage were full of filthy words, angering the Chaos Immortal Elder. These people trembled, and the chi and blood in their bodies trembled. Their forbidden bodies seemed to explode, and they hurriedly shut their mouths, not daring to say a word. The Chaos Immortal Elder's face was gloomy, but because of the Thunder Immortal Elder, he did not punish them too harshly. The trials of the number one mountain are the 5 great purgatories: the Fire Sea, Thunder Sea, Wind Sea, and the Sea of Purgatory. The 4 great purgatories are each more difficult than the last. Su Yin is actually unaffected by the Fire Sea. He must have been tempered by a world-shocking flame, so he has fire resistance. Without being disturbed, perhaps the Tenrai of Beach can surpass him in the Thunder Sea. It's too early to talk about first place. It's not just the Thunder Sea. The most difficult is the Sea of Purgatory. Some of the most talented geniuses have been suppressed by the Sea of Purgatory for a year, unable to reach the top. Some people couldn't help but nod. These words made sense. The final Sea of Purgatory was incomparably difficult. To break through it, one must have a terrifying spiritual will. Otherwise, one would be suppressed to the point of not being able to raise one's head. Although the number one mountain was not a land of slaughter, the competition was still fierce. There was a group of unknown experts who rose up here, attracting a lot of attention. Creatures like the dragon scorpion, who were in the second echelon, walked out, numbering over 1,000. It had to be said that in this kind of celestial world gathering, great waves washed out sand. Those who were in the second tier were all talents worth nurturing. At some point in the future, they would definitely experience a great explosion and become the pillars of the celestial world in the future. The Heaven's Equal Sage is still in first place. The Tenrai of Beach cultivates the heaven-opening lightning scripture, one of the 10 great heaven-opening scriptures of the celestial world. Can the Tenrai of Beach surpass Su Yin in the Thunder Sea? Look, Su Yin has crossed the Fire Sea and rushed into the Thunder Sea. Su Yin crossed the vast Fire Sea and rushed into the next Purgatory world. The Tenrai of Beach followed closely behind. The war god seed of the Manhuang tribe was not inferior, either. The 3 leaders stepped into the Thunder Abyss one after another. Reverse. He's going to reverse. The experts of the Tenrai of Beach couldn't help but let out hysterical roars. This was an opportunity, a great opportunity for the Tenrai of Beach to reverse and surpass Su Yin. Who didn't know that the Tenrai of Beach cultivated the heaven-opening lightning scripture, which was said to be the strongest scripture that accompanied the origin of the Thunder Tao? In that case, the second purgatory world of the four great purgatory seas would not be a place of death for the Tenrai of Beach. It would be equivalent to his land of fortune. Charge! The Tenrai of Beach roared hysterically. A ball of fire had long been suppressed in his heart. He would not allow anyone to ride on his neck. In this era of the universe, he should be the strongest, and he would not allow anyone to surpass him. The Tenrai of Beach, who had completed his Tao, once activated his tribe's ancient heavenly art. His entire body changed completely. He was like a lightning war god that was born from the thunder abyss. He completely ignored the lightning strikes that filled the sky and wanted to overtake the top with an absolute stance. He wanted to become the strongest and dominate the world. Everyone in the world widened their eyes. Even the experts who were working hard to climb the mountain were watching. After all, the first place was too important. He was worthy of being called a peerless genius. Even if there were other people who reached the top, it would not be as shocking as the first place. He surpassed. A group of old men roared. Their faces were red and their necks were thick. They were so excited that their bodies were trembling. They saw that the Tenrai of Beach was about to cross the entire Thunder Sea and reach the next stage. But, with a long roar, the lightning that filled the sky trembled violently. He, the Tenrai of Beach, would not allow anyone to surpass him. Suyin would not allow it either. A figure that could destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth rushed into the heavens, terrifying beyond compare. The light of blood and chi gushed out from his pores, shaking the heavens and earth. The boundless sea of thunder collapsed, turning into a pile of ashes. Suyin was in a frenzy. He would not give the Tenrai of Beach a chance to overtake him. Boom! The heaven-burying fist caused the blood vitality in his body to boil. Behind him, the image of a supreme sovereign overlooking the world appeared. With a roar, it shattered the heavens and destroyed the sea of thunder, causing monstrous energy ripples to fall down. Suyin did not need to use the sky-opening lightning scripture to break through the situation. His strongest power erupted, evolved, and crushed the Thunder Sea. His invincible combat strength began to surge. It was so terrifying that it made people feel suffocated. A peerless overlord of a generation raised his fist and destroyed the Thunder Sea with his strongest stance and reached the next stage. Chapter 1924. Spider Rock trembled and felt suffocated. Was this still the Suyin he knew? The sages that they had targeted and made things difficult for in the regal creation grounds? Now, he could be called an invincible emperor. His body was filled with chi and blood, and his strongest combat power was unsealed. His chi and blood tore through the sky and flooded the universe. That kind of fist force was too magnificent and huge. It broke through the sea of lightning and gave the world a huge shock. Puffed. Spider Rock coughed up blood and couldn't catch his breath. His body was weak, and he rolled down. No! Spider Rock screamed in despair. He had the qualifications to enter the outer region of the Immortal's Cave and become a member of the Immortal's Cave. However, under the intimidation of Suyin, he rolled down the first mountain and lost the qualification to continue. Everyone in the world was stunned. Of course, no one would pay attention to Spider Rock, even if he was a noble of the Daesong. Chaos Immortal Elder's heart was in turmoil. His ancient body that was sitting in the chaos stood up. It was hard to imagine that this was a young man. It was even harder to imagine that he could break through with this kind of attitude. He had seen some peerless Ingjie break through with this kind of attitude. However, it was too rare. In the entire immortal world, there were only a few geniuses that were born in the long years. Now that he saw one again, the Chaos Immortal Elder was shocked. He paid more attention to Suyin. This person really had the attitude of being invincible in his generation. There was no problem for him to participate in the battle of the immortal devil battlefield. The Manwan tribe's war god seed is also not bad. This tribe finally gave birth to an amazing Ingjie. Chaos Immortal Elder smiled. He thought that there wouldn't be too many waves this time, but he didn't expect two monstrous figures to come out. Although the Manhuang tribe's young war god wasn't as domineering as Su Yin, he also broke through the sea of lightning and broke through to the next level. In fact, if it weren't for the Tenrai of Beak's breakthrough, Su Yin and the others wouldn't have burst out with such a strong power. After all, he almost used his strongest combat power to break through. Before the Great War of the Immortal and Devil began, Su Yin didn't want to expose his strongest battle prowess to avoid being noticed by the Dark World. His goal was to win 3 out of 3 battles. This was the land of fortune of the immortal world, the shortcut to becoming an immortal king. Bastard, how could this be? The faces of the veteran experts of the Tenrai of Beak's lineage were ashen. They had thought that they would be able to make a comeback and regain the qualifications of being the first leader. But now, the Tenrai of Beak had suffered a miserable defeat. Although he had directly pierced through the Sea of Thunder, Su Yin had directly destroyed him. This caused a huge uproar. This was Su Yin, the strongest heaven's pride of the mortal world, who was suspected to be on the letter of challenge. No wonder the Phoenix King protected him. No wonder the old monkey said that Su Yin had the qualifications to be the strongest member of the immortal world. There's still a chance. We haven't completely lost yet. An expert roared in a low voice. The final purgatory of the 4 great purgatories is the most difficult. Before coming here, Thunder Immortal Elder specially helped the Tenrai of Beak temper his will. There's still a chance to make a comeback. Now, who was the first? It was still early. The old antiques from various clans who came to watch the ceremony were very clear. In the 4 great purgatories, as long as one could break through the first 3 purgatories, they would be qualified to become a core disciple of the Immortal Cave. Although it was difficult to be as abnormal as Su Yin and the others for Dragon Scorpion and the others, it wasn't difficult to get through the first 3 stages. The difficult part was the 4th stage, the Sea of Purgatory. This was the biggest challenge. 4 saints with excellent conditions. 1,000,000 points wasn't too important. What was important was to become the strongest seed of the Immortal Cave. What was the strongest seed? Directly becoming a peerless prodigy. This identity wasn't just a title. The treatment and resources that were given were unimaginable. But because of this, the difficulty of breaking through the 4th stage was very high. Perhaps only 1 or 2 out of 100 people could pass the 4th stage. The difficulty is so high. Everyone's hearts trembled. This made the older generation laugh. Do you really think that becoming the strongest seed of the Immortal Cave is just a matter of words? There was once a peerless prodigy who was trapped in the 4th stage. I'm confused. Only peerless prodigies can pass the 4th stage, someone questioned. You don't understand, because there was once a case similar to Su Yin. They thought they could pass the 4th stage, but they failed. An old expert with an extremely long lifespan dispelled their doubts. On the path of the strong, strength is king. But there's one thing. Without a strong will, tenacity, and mentality, there's little hope to pass the 4th stage. Therefore, the 4th stage is called the Sea of Purgatory. It's a nightmare for prodigies. In the 4th purgatory, the 1st stage tests the physical body, the 2nd stage tests strength, the 3rd stage tests the primordial spirit, and the 4th stage tests the spiritual will. The younger generation were all shocked. Willpower was actually the most important. On the contrary, it wasn't strength or potential. This made them a little confused. It changed the way these people thought. In particular, the old experts of the various clans were very clear. Blindly pursuing strength and an invincible body, but ignoring the spiritual will, was instead the greatest obstacle on the path of the strong. Without a strong spirit, how could one reach the Immortal King realm? Therefore, the Immortal Cave directly gave the strongest seed resources to the experts who passed the Sea of Purgatory to nurture. Now, Su Yin was passing through the 3rd stage of the trial. Black heavenly winds were blowing in his face, roaring and howling. This was a place of killing. It was bone-piercing cold, wanting to cut one's primordial spirit. Black whirlwinds filled the sky, sweeping down in waves, forming a black sea. Su Yin felt as if his primordial spirit was in the wind of death. The impact made his primordial spirit tremble slightly, feeling as if it was being torn apart in front of him. Boom! Su Yan's primordial spirit was blazing. Yang Qi was rolling, and there was a blazing fire steaming. Wisps of it were about to evaporate the death storm that filled the sky. This was the red lotus karmic fire. Once the three disaster secret technique was used, heaven and earth would be crimson red. However, Su Yin didn't use this method to forcefully break through the situation. The wind disaster of the three disasters secret technique was blooming. In an instant, his primordial spirit changed. The golden whirlwinds danced, as if 100,000 killing swords were unsheathed. His primordial spirit swam in the dark sea, withstanding the sweeping winds and the torture of the great Tao of heaven and earth. No matter how the wind and rain battered, Su Yan's primordial spirit was still blazing. Moreover, the aura of disaster was faintly discernible. Suddenly, it was as if it had turned into the strongest tornado, wanting to swallow the entire black storm for his own use. The three disaster secret technique is fire, wind, and thunder. Although I've cultivated fire, I don't have the corresponding extraordinary items to complement the wind and thunder disasters. I can't fully cultivate this secret technique. Although the black heavenly wind in this purgatory is powerful and can threaten my primordial spirit, it's not as famous as the red lotus karmic fire. Su Yin was a little disappointed. After all, the red lotus karmic fire he had obtained was too extraordinary. As long as he had enough red lotus karmic fire, he could threaten an immortal king. Su Yin gradually put this secret technique aside. He didn't know if he could find two extraordinary items when he went to the Emperor's city in the future to cultivate the three disasters secret technique. This ancient technique had a great background. It had enough heaven-defying items, and it could definitely unleash a powerful effect. It was also enough to ensure that Su Yan's primordial spirit was extremely powerful. Of course, even without the three disasters secret technique, Su Yan's primordial spirit was exceptionally brilliant in the dark storm under the circulation of the Sun Mother Sutra. It was like a divine lamp that illuminated the world. It emitted blazing yang qi, burning the violent winds in the sky to the point that they were cracking. However, the deeper he went, the stronger the test was. The world in front of him turned into a black abyss. The billowing storm was like millions of huge waves sweeping over. It was accompanied by the vast primordial spirit suppression power that came crashing down. Break! Su Yan's primordial spirit walked out. Its killing intent was monstrous, and it was filled with terrifying heat. When it punched out, the black storm that filled the sky was swept back, and a large part of it collapsed along the way. On the other side, the primordial spirits of the Tenrai of Beach and the Manhuang tribe's war god seed were also extremely powerful, especially the Tenrai of Beach's primordial spirit. It was like an innate divine spirit that was sleeping in the chaos. With a loud roar, lightning filled the sky. It was like pushing through dry weeds. To become the core seed of the fairy cave, this was the final test. However, in front of the three great experts, it was completely insufficient. They rushed all the way with astonishing speed. No one wanted to fall behind. Three disasters secret art, red lotus karmic fire. The Tenrai of Beach's eyes widened. He definitely did not expect Su Yin to control the red lotus karmic fire. This was the fortune that he had dreamed of. Unfortunately, he failed at the moment of seizing the treasure vault in the royal city, and he was almost burned to death. How did Su Yin control the red lotus karmic fire? Strictly speaking, it was not something that could be controlled by a fire saint. There was basically no hope, unless one could find a treasure that could suppress the red lotus karmic fire. However, even the great Tenrai of Beach failed. One could imagine how difficult it was to find a treasure that was comparable to the red lotus karmic fire. He broke through. So fast. Too fast. The world was in an uproar. It was already the third stage of the purgatory. Under such a powerful primordial spirit attack, Su Yin could still break through. This really shocked them. In the final moment, the Chaos Deity Elder caught sight of a blurry and huge red lotus blooming in the dark torrent. It burned the darkness and shattered all obstacles. Red lotus karmic fire. The Chaos Deity Elder was moved. Suyin had brought him too many surprises. He was really looking forward to this person's speed in breaking through the fourth stage. After passing the third stage, one could become a core member of the Immortal Cave. This is the last chance. The Tenrai of Beach must surpass him. Otherwise, there will be no more chances. He can definitely do it. The Tenrai of Beach will definitely endure the torment of the Sea of Purgatory. I believe that he can surpass Su Yin and dominate the world. The experts of the Tenrai of Beach shouted anxiously. They could not wait to see. They wanted to see the progress of the next stage. However, they knew that it would take at least 1 or 2 days to break through the fourth stage. Moreover, this speed was already very scary. Su Yin had already rushed into the fourth stage. The Tenrai of Beach soon followed. The war god of the savage tribe was also almost there. The 3 experts rushed up just like that. Dragon Scorpion and the others were a little absent-minded. They could not do it. They had just broken through the first stage of Purgatory and needed some time to pass it. Break through with peerless combat strength. The number of experts in the past was pitifully small. This gap and disparity made the onlookers below fall silent. A peerless genius was indeed a peerless hero. There is no doubt that he had absolutely invincible combat strength in his generation. In particular, Su Yan's punch that exploded the sea of lightning made Dragon Scorpion and the others admire him from the bottom of their hearts. He's gone. Bamboo Moon and Fairy Zxiao were relieved. They were not worried about Su Yan's spiritual will. Su Yan had killed countless life and death situations. His willpower was very strong. Moreover, Su Yan had focused on the great Tao these years and had opened the door to the strong. He was no longer a small saint who could threaten Su Yan's primordial spirit in the immortal desert. The scene of the fourth stage surprised Su Yan. Thick earth, rivers of blood, mountains of corpses, and seas of blood. It was as if he had fallen into an ancient battlefield. Endless battle cries rushed over, accompanied by loud roars that could shatter the heavens. The aura of war was wild and tyrannical. If an ordinary person were here, their soul would be shattered by the roars, and they would become walking corpses. The whole world was filled with an unparalleled, ferocious aura. It was as if millions of soldiers were rushing over with great killing weapons. The cold light reflected on one's soul and cut one's flesh, indicating the arrival of great fear. Boom! Su Yan stepped into the sky, his long black hair dancing in the wind. He let out a cold shout. Don't take out this kind of test. I, Su Yan, have lived and died with you. So what if this is the real purgatory? All of you back down. Su Yan was extremely powerful. His essence, energy, and spirit were terrifying beyond compare. He was even more savage and cruel than this bloody world. Who was suppressing who? The heaven and earth exploded and was destroyed in front of Su Yan. Even if the heaven and earth fell apart and the order of the 3 realms collapsed, Su Yan's brows wouldn't knit. He allowed the world to turn into ashes. Even if his body suddenly disintegrated and his flesh rotted, he still maintained an absolutely terrifying battle flame and emitted the will to burn the heavens. Back down! Su Yan roared again. The images that filled the sky exploded. His essence, energy, and spirit were too tyrannical and incomparable. He wanted to destroy the entire sea of purgatory and break through the heaven and earth. He stood at the peak of the world and looked down on the world. It was as if Su Yan's words had angered the sea of purgatory. A huge change was born. The world was bleeding. A vast black ocean appeared with millions of raging waves on the surface of the sea. All of a sudden, a figure appeared. It was as if he lived in the ancient times and stood in the near ancient times to look down on this world. The power he emitted was too shocking. It was as if he covered the 3 realms from outside. This figure gradually walked over and also became more and more majestic. His head was the blue dome of heaven, and his feet were the purgatory as he looked down on the world. He was like the supreme Lord of heaven and earth. He emitted an unmatched spiritual will. It was so terrifying that it wanted to obliterate the heavens. Submit to the world mountain, a vast voice swept over. It was so imposing that it wanted to crush the long river of time and shatter Su Yan's body and mind. Su Yan's body was pierced with pain. His primordial spirit was going to be melted. He was really going to die and turn into a pile of withered bones. If he didn't submit, he would die. Submit to the world mountain. Submit to the world mountain. The voice attacked one after another, shaking the heavens and earth. It resounded in the deepest part of Su Yan's soul. It had to be said that the demonic nature it contained was too shocking. Even Su Yan was about to become absent-minded. He wanted to prostrate himself in worship and completely submit. Submit to the world mountain. The final voice was incomparably majestic. This heaven and earth were obliterated. Everything turned into dust and dispersed like smoke. If I am unrivaled under the heavens, this mountain will be mine. In an instant, Su Yan faced the sky and roared. His blood surged with anger. His body was filled with the light of destruction. Just by relying on his spiritual will alone, he had already manifested an unrivaled figure. It was as if an emperor was announcing to the world. The sky was also filled with withered bones and corpses that accompanied him. This was a real scene. It was Su Yan's life experience. He had condensed a body of will and dominated the world. He wanted to make everything in the world submit to him. Boom! He punched out and shattered the huge black figure in front of him. The world exploded. Even the sea of purgatory collapsed. A punch destroyed everything. No one could stop Su Yan. His spiritual energy was unrivaled. He looked down on everything. He stood alone between heaven and earth, looking down on the past and present. Chapter 1925. Su Yan's domineering aura overflowed the heavens, shattering the spiritual illusion of the sea of purgatory with a single punch. The world's #1 mountain's 4 trials, the sea of trials that everyone called a nightmare, was nothing in front of Su Yan. Under the unrivaled belief of the strongest and most domineering, any threat was nothing but a paper tiger, completely unable to suppress Su Yan's peerless edge. In fact, Su Yan only needed a few breaths of time. This was Su Yan's spirit, his belief of being invincible in the world, and his invincible sharpness. Boom! Su Yan's figure rushed out, climbing toward the peak of the first mountain. From this moment onwards, his figure was resplendent and terrifying. His body shone with 1,000,000 rays of light, illuminating the universe and stars. It was as if he had turned into the world's only war god, dominating the world. Stepping onto the path of unrivaled in the world, this was Su Yan's belief. Whether it was a mortal king or emperor, Su Yan would always advance courageously, never retreating. Someone roared, his eyes wide open as if he had gone mad. He let out a thunderous roar, completely losing control of his emotions. What's with the noise? The experts of the older generation all had dark faces. They were currently paying attention to the progress of the second group's trials. Currently, the speed of the second dark horse was a bit shocking. Tai Baokai was about to become the leader of the second group. This fat giant panda was easy to remember, but no one could have imagined that Tai Baokai would actually release such shocking potential. The sea of flames couldn't hold it at all, and it was about to rush into the second trial space. Although this kind of torment wasn't much of a threat to the Manhuang tribe's war gods, for experts like Dragon Scorpion, the difficulty was still extraordinarily high. It was impossible to break through in a short period of time. Otherwise, the immortal Old Academy's test criteria wouldn't be that one could become a core member of the Immortal Cave after passing the 3 great purgatories. In short, every trial was filled with difficulties, but Tai Baokai released enough potential. It realized more and more the benefits of bathing in the Emperor's blood medicinal bath. It became closer to the Great Tao and stimulated the potential of its beast god bloodline. There was a great chance that it could fuse together and evolve the beast god Great Tao. Moreover, Baokai still had sovereign bloodline essence within its body and it might be able to stimulate it and help it grow quickly. Sea of Purgatory, more people exclaimed. After all, Su Yin and the others had just entered the Sea of Purgatory. Logically speaking, it was impossible for them to pass the most difficult level in a short time. Therefore, the experts of various races began to pay attention to the other contestants. There were thousands of powerful heroes in the second echelon. According to the probability of passing the level, the Fairies' Cave would probably recruit hundreds of core seeds. What Sea of Purgatory? A few old monsters were discontent. When they gave number 1 Under Heaven Mountain's peak a look, all of them looked like they had seen a ghost, all of them stupefied. They were truly petrified. Someone had rushed out of the Sea of Purgatory. It had only been a few breaths of time, but someone had already broken through the Sea of Purgatory. It's definitely the Tenrai of Beach. It's definitely him. The experts of the Thunder Immortals' old bloodline were overwhelmed with emotions. They looked up one after another, but their pupils were infinitely dilated, as if they had been struck by lightning. Their bodies trembled, and it was difficult for them to breathe. They pointed at Su Yin, their bodies trembling, and their faces full of disbelief. How is this possible? An expert of the older generation roared in a low voice. Su Yin had rushed out of the Sea of Purgatory. How long had it taken him? Wasn't this too fake? But the truth was the truth, and it made them go crazy. Someone shouted, "Did Su Yin cheat?" Over the years, who could break through the Sea of Purgatory so quickly? Who could? The whole world was in an uproar, and a heated discussion broke out. The world was going crazy. The speed was too fast. Too fast. It was so fast that they couldn't believe their eyes. The Chaos Immortal Elder was also a little dumbfounded. Su Yin had simply broken the record of the Sea of Purgatory. Although there were only a handful of shocking overlords in the celestial world who had broken through the Sea of Purgatory in a short period of time, their speed was definitely not comparable to Su Yan's. Only a few breaths of time had passed. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, the Chaos Immortal Elder would have found it hard to believe. The entire world seemed a bit strange. There were some Emperor clan members and even experts from the immortal race. Their expressions were extremely unsightly. Some were laughing, feeling that a peerless genius had been born in the celestial world, the incredible and invincible Daeson. There were also people with cold expressions. Back then, they really should have beaten him to death in the King City. So what if it was the Monkey King? They should have killed him directly to prevent future troubles. Now, it was too late to say anything. Su Yin was really going to break through the heavens and shatter the Sea of Purgatory in a short period of time. He was only a step away from ascending the number 1 mountain under the heavens. Moreover, with this person's shocking level, this step wouldn't be difficult at all. The veins on the heads of the experts from the Starry Sky Emperor race and the other races were popping out. The first person to reach the peak of the number 1 mountain under the heavens. This was a supreme glory, endless glory, eternal glory, and one of the strongest in the celestial world. If they wanted to make things difficult for him in the future, would there be any hope? Although the celestial world was controlled and influenced by the Emperor clans, in the vast celestial world, the Emperor clans weren't the only ones. A peerless genius with supreme potential was one of the most precious treasures to the celestial world. Bastard, a big shot from the reincarnation Emperor race roared in a low voice. His heart was bleeding, and he was so angry that he went berserk. His race had lost a celestial king, and the previous generation's clan leader was also killed. Until now, they still hadn't found out who exactly it was. What kind of humiliation was this? This was trampling on the glory of the Emperor race. If it wasn't for the opening of the number 1 mountain under the heavens and diverting the attention of the entire world, then the death of the reincarnation Emperor race's titled Emperor race would have caused an even greater commotion. Especially now, they could only watch as Su Yin reached the peak of the number 1 mountain. What was laughable was that the Tenrai of Beach hadn't come out yet. Boom! Su Yan's foot stepped onto the peak, as if he was stepping across an era of the universe. Gradually, the world darkened. This step was as if he had stepped into a land of death. His body and mind were filled with anxiety and fear. This wasn't a pressure that targeted his spiritual will, but a threat in terms of strength. This stimulated Su Yan's flesh and blood to burn endlessly, erupting with unparalleled brilliance. He roared in a low voice. His black hair danced in the wind, and lightning shot out from his eyes. Who exactly was the enemy? He couldn't see clearly. He couldn't see clearly at all. However, a destructive attack was coming. An unparalleled power was about to destroy Su Yan's flesh and destroy all of his bodily functions. Why was this happening? Wasn't tearing apart the sea of purgatory enough to reach the peak? Why was there such an abnormal test? The source of this test couldn't be seen at all. How difficult was it? It was as if a giant hand had reached out from the number 1 mountain and attacked Su Yan from all directions. Boom! In an instant, Su Yan's flesh rumbled and trembled violently as if it was about to burst open. Blood flowed out from his pores. The fatal attack caused Su Yan's eyes to darken. His chest heaved violently. His foundation was unleashed crazily. It was as if he had turned into a human-shaped killing machine, forcibly blocking the destructive storm that filled the sky. However, it was still very heavy. It was as if he was carrying a giant mountain in a sea of stars. It was so heavy that Su Yan's spine was about to collapse. What was this? The test's difficulty had soared by a large margin. Su Yan seemed to have stepped onto a different path. He roared, and the aura of his flesh and blood became even more intense. It burned fiercely, illuminating heaven and earth, and his pores rippled with surging blood energy. Despite the sudden difficulty, Su Yan still stepped forward and stood at the peak of the number 1 mountain. He looked down on the world. The test is still there. It seems to have been broken. What happened? Could it be that I'm still not standing at the peak? Su Yan frowned. Although he was injured, he was unharmed. In fact, he wanted to continue the challenge just now. He felt that it was the ultimate challenge. Even someone as powerful as Su Yan had his life threatened. It was clear how difficult the test was just now. Challenger, excellent conditions. Suddenly, an ancient voice attacked one after another, echoing in Su Yan's ears. Speed of passing, ranked 5th in the immortal world. The potential of your body is strong and unknown. An exception has been made for you as the strongest seed to accept the ultimate test. Su Yan was absent-minded. Soon, his blood began to boil and surge violently. What was this? Could it be that the number 1 mountain in the immortal world contained an ancient and dazzling inheritance? That was a little terrifying and shocking. Perhaps no one had obtained the supreme inheritance of the number 1 mountain in the long history of the immortal world. They would need to complete even more powerful challenges. With Su Yan's speed, he was only ranked 5th. Speaking of which, if Su Yan went all out and charged forward, what rank would he be? There is no doubt that the immortal world once had a peerlessly terrifying Overlord sovereign. There was no doubt about this. Was the current Su Yan not strong enough? His speed was already very terrifying. Even so, he was only ranked 5th. Because of his special constitution and the fact that he could not be fully explored by the number 1 mountain, an exception was made for him as the strongest seed. Then, if it were not for the influence of his constitution, Su Yan would not be able to be called the strongest seed. This shocked him. He wondered if he could be ranked as the strongest seed if he broke through at his fastest speed and stood at the peak of Daesung's domain without being affected by his constitution. Of course, that was no longer important. There was a huge problem with the number 1 mountain. There was an ancient and heaven-defying inheritance. He did not know how powerful it was. Was this the inheritance left behind by an invincible being? Vaguely, Su Yan discovered that a path was guiding him to accept the strongest test. At this time, he also noticed the situation around him. He was once again absent-minded. It was as if he had fallen into a treasure vault. The air was filled with the fragrance of herbs. Millions of divine ancient herbs were blooming, sprinkling down brilliant energy radiance. It contained the aura of a god and a saint. It spread out and stimulated Su Yan's injuries to recover rapidly. Mother of God, Su Yan was dumbstruck. The vast and boundless mountain peak was filled with divine treasures. These were natural and nurtured items. Was this a reward? He reached out and try to pluck a divine herb. However, Su Yin failed. Every divine herb had a great sealing power that prevented him from plucking it. I can't pluck it. I can only absorb the energy of the divine herbs to nourish myself. This could be considered a rare creation. Su Yin shook his head and sighed. If he could really pluck it and take it away, the peak of the #1 mountain would not be filled with divine ancient herbs. In short, above the mountain peak, the sky was filled with pure divine energy surging like a torrent. It endlessly drilled into Su Yan's flesh and blood, nourishing his body, primordial spirit, dharma power, and strong vitality. Su Yan's body glowed. He activated the stealing heaven technique and seized the fortune of the heavens. He gathered the pure medicinal power of the world to nourish himself. In a short period of time, Su Yin broke through. His divine power soared and directly stepped into Daesung's Domain 8. Under the nourishment of endless pure divine power, his primordial spirit blazed, the dharma power in his body skyrocketed, and his flesh and blood became extremely powerful. Chapter 1926. Su Yin had broken through. It was unprecedentedly smooth. It was too smooth. He had comprehended the Tao for 10 years, obtained various inheritances, and received the nurturing of various treasures in the human world. All these years, he had focused on the profound meaning of the great Tao and had never forced himself to reach a higher realm. Now, everything was going smoothly. He tore through the checkpoint and opened the door to a higher realm. Pure divine power filled the sky and swept over, drowning Su Yan's body. Suddenly, Su Yan's vitality soared, becoming exceptionally powerful and vigorous. One had to know that the peak of the first mountain was planted with countless divine, precious herbs. The divine and holy energy substances sprinkled down, accompanied by various great medicinal powers, were of vital help to cultivators, especially when Su Yin used the stealing heaven art to seize good fortune. After breaking through, his aura went berserk. He was about to step into the 8th level perfect realm in a spurt of energy. Su Yin grinned. His harvest was too shocking. His flesh and blood were blazing and full. After being nourished by various medicinal herbs, all the potential treasures of this realm were strengthened. Moreover, a large amount of medicinal effect had settled in Su Yan's limbs and bones. Tun, this is a rare opportunity. Swallow. Su Yin shouted excitedly. He swallowed without restraint. Under his activation of the stealing heaven art, it was as if countless large hands had grown out of his back. They explored the universe and seized the essence of the great herbs. A large number of herbs around Su Yin withered visibly. They had been deprived of their life essence. Of course, this little loss was nothing to the endless divine precious herbs on the peak of the first mountain. Su Yan's appetite was also very big. A divine and holy energy vortex formed on the top of his head, swallowing heaven and earth. Roar! Su Yin roared. His body was in danger of exploding. There were too many energy substances, and a huge amount of them had settled in his flesh. It was like a huge world of treasures, emitting an immeasurable amount of holy light. Its might was unpredictable. I can't take it anymore. My bones are about to explode. I can't be too greedy. Su Yin took a deep breath, and the scripture of the universe gradually circulated, suppressing the explosive energy and matter in his body, allowing everything to settle in his flesh. This treasure was quite important, and once it was burned in the future, it would be able to help Su Yin bombard the sovereign domain. Emperor Su Yin wouldn't consider it now. After the immortal demon war, he would choose to step into the emperor's domain. Buzz! Su Yan's frontal bone was blazing, and his golden primordial spirit was blazing as it emitted a rain of divine energy. There is no doubt that his primordial spirit had undergone a huge transformation as well. His soul aura had strengthened, and he could vaguely see the great Tao of heaven and earth interweaving and illuminating the starry sky. His primordial spirit was about to break through to become a ruler. He did not expect that he would gain so much from reaching the peak. Su Yin could even vaguely sense a repulsive force. Without a doubt, it was impossible for him to continue cultivating here. Once the time was up, he would be expelled. Fortunately, I have mastered the stealing heaven technique. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to obtain so much. Su Yin murmured. He stood up and stared into the distance. Su Yin was filled with anticipation. What would he obtain next? What was the ultimate trial? It would definitely be filled with difficulties. He was prepared to explore it because he felt that he would obtain great fortunes. Su Yin strode forward, his black hair fluttering behind him. His essence, energy, and spirit were powerful. At this moment, Su Yin was standing at his peak state and could face any great enemy. Only when Su Yan's figure was about to disappear did the Tenrai of Beach break through the sea of purgatory. A loud roar exploded, and it was as if a sky full of thunderbolts had struck down at the same time. It shook heaven and earth, raising a tide of lightning that surged violently, indicating the birth of a peak-level hero. Su Yin, has he come out? The Tenrai of Beach's divine eyes were like lightning. He did not see Su Yan's figure. Then his eyes fell on the mountain peak. Was he number one? At the foot of the number one mountain, all the spectators were silent. Su Yan had already been at the peak for half a day, but the Tenrai of Beach had just broken through the sea of purgatory. Actually, the Tenrai of Beach speed was already fast enough. Unfortunately, he encountered Su Yan. It was destined to be a tragedy. I didn't expect that the title of number one mountain would be taken by Su Yan. What a good sage king equal of heaven. No wonder he was listed in the challenge letter issued by the Dark World. I'm really looking forward to his performance in the immortal devil battlefield. The old experts of various races gathered together to discuss. A terrifying era was about to arrive. There were only a few years left. Su Yan already had the qualifications to participate. The Tenrai of Beach and the battle god of the Man-Huang tribe also had the qualifications. There are also people who raise their doubts. Su Yan's strength is obvious to all, but does he really have a powerful inheritance and absolute art? You have to know that there was a certain gap between the Heaven's Burying Cave and the Immortal's Cave at its peak. This sentence made many old experts silent. The competition in the Immortal Devil Great War was not just about individual strength. It also depended on the level of great magical powers cultivated. It was a competition of supreme battle strength. Su Yan once rejected the invitation of the Immortal's Cave. Even if he went there now, it's impossible for him to grasp the core inheritance of the Immortal's Cave in a few years. Someone hit the nail on the head and said in a low voice, "The great immortal demon war is of great importance." Su Yan's existence is too unpredictable. Although he is extremely brilliant, does he really have an invincible technique that can make him the strongest in the world? Who said that the Heaven's Burying Cave doesn't have an absolute art? Big Goldie was furious. He shouted with a cold face, "Go back and ask the experts of your race." When the Immortal Devil Great War started, the Heaven's Burying Cave of the human world was also one of the main forces. There's such a thing? Is it unheard of? These words caused quite a stir. Everyone was shocked. They didn't know about this matter. After all, the Heaven's Burying Cave had existed for too long. How many forces in the world knew about the Heaven's Burying Cave's glorious era? Mu-Xin pulled Big Goldie. There were many old monsters here. Big Goldie was made of the Golden Dipper's mother material. Once some old monsters saw through him, it would be extraordinarily troublesome. Big Goldie opened his mouth out of anger. He quickly calmed down and muttered in his heart, "I seem to have heard someone say that there are some problems in the world's number one mountain. There seems to be an inheritance hidden. I wonder if Su Yan can obtain it." Big Goldie wasn't the only one who knew. The Tenrai of Beach also knew. With his identity, he knew more comprehensively. However, according to the arguments of various races, the inheritance of the first mountain was illusory and not real at all. The Tenrai of Beach walked to the summit. In the process, he also endured a great test. His innate body was about to collapse. He endured the crushing pressure and walked to the summit with his body covered in blood. In fact, even if he couldn't bear the test and failed, he was still qualified to go to the summit to absorb the sacred precious medicine's baptism. Peak Seed, the Tenrai of Beach revealed a smile. The mysterious and ancient words still echoed in his ears. He felt that this was the first mountain spiritual will acknowledging him. Peak Seeds were few and far between in the past. According to his understanding, this should be the strongest recognition for the challenger. Moreover, he clearly understood that the Heavenly King of the Starry Sky Imperial race, the Heavenly King, and the others had all received the title of Peak Seed of the First Mountain. There was no doubt that the Tenrai of Beach had already entered the ranks of the strongest in the immortal world. Of course, the most important thing was that the Tenrai of Beach had just finished his Dao demonstration. He still hadn't stood at the peak of the Daesong domain. Was this understandable? His own potential had already surpassed the Heavenly King and the others. Could he stand shoulder to shoulder with the princesses? The Immortals' Cave had several young monsters with terrifying potential. They were known as the invincible overlords of the present era. The Tenrai of Beach also had great confidence that he could surpass them in the future. After all, he was still young. Although the princesses and the others had been sealed by the Immortals' Cave and maintained their golden years for a long time, they definitely weren't as young as him. Their potential was unparalleled and extraordinary. After all, he belonged to this era of the universe. Therefore, the Tenrai of Beach now felt that he was already the number one person in this era of the universe. As expected, the Tenrai of Beach's confidence grew stronger. He searched the entire mountain peak, but didn't find any trace of Su Yan. It was time to announce to the world that the Tenrai of Beach had dominated this era of the universe. The battle god of the Manhuang tribe had also arrived. He ignored the Tenrai of Beach and found an area to sit cross-legged and absorb the creation substance. Although there was a gap between him and the Tenrai of Beach, the battle god of the Manhuang tribe wasn't discouraged. He looked for his own shortcomings and worked hard to become stronger. "I'm second," he muttered in his heart. "Not really. That person who is stronger and more extraordinary might have already arrived before me. Or maybe he has already gone to the training ground." The battle god of the Manhuang tribe clearly knew that there was a mysterious training ground here. However, a long time had passed, and no one dared to go there anymore. There was once an unparalleled battle god of the tribe who ascended the first mountain and went to the training ground. He really died there. Although he came out alive, he didn't obtain anything. However, according to the battle god of the Manhuang tribe's understanding, that person became stronger and more extraordinary after leaving the mountain. He completed a huge transformation and walked on the path of the ancestors of the Manhuang tribe's glorious era. At this moment, Su Yan had already left the sacred treasure growing area. Gradually, the sky ahead turned dark. Darkness was about to cover the land. Where did he come to? The world was quiet. Su Yan's footsteps echoed. He didn't encounter any danger along the way. Su Yan felt a chill. Endless cold air seeped into his flesh and blood. It had already drilled into his bones, causing Su Yan to shiver. Danger, extreme danger. He didn't know why. Su Yan could clearly see the dark world ahead. Danger lurked everywhere. It was as if he was about to fall into the mouth of a giant beast and be chewed until there was nothing left. How terrifying was the ultimate training ground. Su Yan's expression was solemn. It was as if he was facing the strongest enemy in the world. Moreover, the road ahead was gradually narrowing. The pitch-black road was hazy with strange colors. He couldn't see clearly. Vaguely, Su Yan's ears echoed with the low roars of countless heroic spirits, the cries of gods and devils, and the despairing shouts of peerless geniuses. What was this? It was as if he had fallen into the era of despair of all the supreme beings, his life as cheap as grass. There were many corpses on the road of the strong. Then how many generations of Ingjia had been buried on the road ahead? Did the strongest sea die in battle? A stone tablet. A road. This black road seems to be the continuation of the world's #1 mountain. Only by climbing the black road can one be considered to have reached the peak. Su Yan looked at the mysterious road. It really seemed like the road of the supreme being's burial ground. It gave people a sense of terror. It covered the sky and covered the earth, engulfing one's soul. It was a stone tablet that looked quite ancient. The words left behind were already blurred. Suyin opened his heaven's eye and looked into the distance. He heard a sigh. No one can reach the peak. No one can break through the test. Su Yin was stunned. At the same time, Su Yan's battle blood was boiling. He was born unafraid of tests. No matter how difficult or perverse the test was, it was targeted at the Saint Realm. He could always break through it. Warn the future generations to withdraw. Don't accept the test. Otherwise, you will die. Even if you reach the peak, it will be for naught. It was like the sigh of an invincible being of the same generation. He didn't describe his experience and left behind a stone tablet to warn the future generations. It was as if he reached the peak, but there was nothing at the bottom. It couldn't be considered to have reached the peak. Su Yin, naturally do not believe in heresy. Su Yan's aura completely changed. He directly waved his fist and opened up the path to the peak, charging into the land of death and destruction. Chapter 1927. As for how difficult the ultimate smelting trial was, no one could answer him right now. In the past, there had been a person who had failed and left behind a stone tablet as a warning to the juniors that they must not attempt this trial. Otherwise, they would die 10 times out of 10. There was almost no hope of passing through. And even if they could, it would be for naught, and they wouldn't be able to obtain anything. But at this moment, what Su Yin wanted wasn't good fortune or lucky chances. Rather, he wanted to see just how strong the smelting trial of the Saint Realm was. He wanted to see just how difficult it was. If the first mountain wasn't playing a joke on him, then it meant that Su Yan's cultivation in the Saint Realm had yet to reach the pinnacle. Bang! Su Yan's fist potential blasted open the black road, causing a massive crack to appear. His figure soared through the air, rushing into a ruined land filled with a boundless aura of death. The entire sky was filled with the howling sound of wind. Wild winds howled between the heavens and earth. Ghosts wept and gods howled. This was no longer a small path to the peak. Instead, it had transformed into a vast purgatory world. What greeted his eyes was endless bloodlight sprinkling down, accompanied by deep roars. Are these the heroic spirits of those who died in battle? Su Yin loudly asked. His long black hair fell over his shoulders, and his eyes were as sharp as knives. As he stared at the scene of the heavens weeping blood, he could faintly make out one figure after another that had once looked down upon the world, bobbing up and down in a sea of blood. Although they had been defeated, they were still extremely powerful individuals. Su Yan's feet stepped on the ground. Bones littered the ground, one after another, one after another. Those who had reached this place in the past had all been extremely terrifying creatures. He had seen dragon bones, phoenix-winged bones, and even golden celestial bones with indestructible bodies. He had also seen the ground covered in dark blood. Some of the blood was very special, and even now, it still emitted a terrifying, ominous light. This was a road of bones that was difficult to reach. It stretched across the purgatory, accompanied by the phenomenon of blood flowing from the heavens. It formed a land of death and ruin. If one's spiritual will wasn't strong enough, they would immediately be defeated. Thump! 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 Su Yin stepped in the air, his hair and clothes fluttering in the wind. With every step he took, Su Yan's aura surged violently. With continuous surges and eruptions, he stood at the peak of the domain. The aura of a powerhouse surged. He was the strongest and most tyrannical. After 10 steps, he did not encounter any danger. However, the moment he took a step forward, heaven and earth trembled. It was indescribably terrifying. The bloody abnormalities that filled the sky began to sway, as if they were merging and recombining. A bloody spear could be vaguely seen, and it was coiled with heaven overflowing killing intent. It was filled with a boundless sharpness that could pierce through the body of a supreme existence. Boom! This strike hacked over, fast to the extreme. A large crack appeared in the heavens, the natural laws of order in the sky collapsing. Fragments of the great Tao covered the ground, and the heaven and earth seemed to be disintegrating. A great collapse was about to take place. Su-Yan's body glowed on its own. He was about to activate his great divine ability to block this attack. Soon after, he noticed a very cruel problem. All the secret techniques, divine abilities, and scriptures had lost their effects. Even his soul core had fallen into eternal silence. Only his body was glowing and surging with the most primitive combat strength. Kill! Su-Yan roared loudly. His hair danced about chaotically. He was iron-blooded and domineering. He raised his fist and smashed toward the bloody spear that hacked over. This was an exceptionally terrifying strike. Su-Yan erupted with the most powerful strength to resist. A great explosion occurred in this region, and terrifying great Tao cracks filled the sky. Heaven and earth were continuously destroyed, and the black purgatory seemed like it was about to collapse. The scene was too horrible to look at. Su-Yan's fist collapsed, and the dense white bones could be seen. The bloody spear pierced through his fist. The entire spear was about to pierce through Su-Yan's entire arm. It pierced through. Roar! Su-Yan roared. His flesh burned fiercely, and the most fundamental and ancient divine force that originated from his flesh shell surged violently. It pierced through his arm and blocked the bloody spear's attack. He made it through. This bloody spear was blasted flying, and it trembled in the shattered void. Moreover, it was swept out in reverse, scattering between heaven and earth. Again, Su-Yan's divine bravery was unstoppable. His body was blazing brilliantly, and his pores gushed out with chi and blood. They revolved around his body, making him look like a peerless overlord. This was an outrageous and abnormal trial. He couldn't use any divine ability to pass through, and he couldn't borrow any external force. Even Su-Yan's special constitution was suppressed. Only Su-Yan's flesh, the most fundamental and ancient flesh, could be used. He took a step forward. Heaven and earth danced chaotically, and it was as if gods and devils were roaring. Heaven and earth were awakened, and the natural laws of order blossomed in the sky, forming an incomparable suppressive force. Even if an emperor-level expert barged into this place, they would easily suffer the fate of having their flesh destroyed. The boundless pressure covered his body. Blood flowed out from the corners of Su-Yan's mouth, and all the bones in his body trembled. His body seemed to be deforming and bending, and it was about to break apart at any moment. The human treasures in his body rumbled, and he released a huge amount of sacred power. He unsealed 120% of his combat strength. He had once practiced in the burial realm, refined his own essence, and recovered a portion of the lost potential of the heavenly embryo. Therefore, even though Su-Yan's physique was suppressed by the heaven burial avatar, he was still able to unleash an invincible combat strength. The vital energy and blood in his body roared and formed a sea of blood. With a roar, he resisted the suppression of the heaven and earth order. Boom! In an instant, the boundless pressure changed, and it evolved into a golden palm. It seemed like an immortal palm print, and it instantly blasted toward Su-Yan's body. Su-Yan's flesh and blood body was imprisoned, and it was difficult for him to wave his fist to block it. He could only let the palm strike his body. The golden palm print seemed small, but the moment it pressed down, it covered the sky and earth. Su-Yan felt that every inch of his flesh and every bone in his body was being suppressed by the strongest of his generation. Puffed. Su-Yan coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. His body staggered, and his vision turned black. He almost rolled down the mountain. It was too painful. His entire body felt like it was being imprisoned in a divine furnace. His body was really disintegrating and was about to break apart. His life seemed to have suffered a fatal blow. In the endless pain, Su-Yan's essence, chi, and spirit were burning. His head could be broken, and his blood could flow, but his would not yield. With a punch, he had shattered the sea of purgatory. Su-Yan's spiritual will was terrifying beyond compare. It was about to condense an invincible body to support Su-Yan's trembling body. At the same time, His heart was in a perilous situation. How could this be? Could it be that this was the most powerful saint? How could this be? Could it be that his cultivation base really looked so pitiful? Why was the gap between them so huge? He was starting to doubt his life. Now, Su Yan's body was trembling. His entire body was in excruciating pain. However, he gradually realized that this palm strike was similar. He thought of the mysterious skeleton. Back then, it had waved its palm at him to open up his flaws and inadequacies. It had used the cruelest means to train him. At this moment, Su Yan suddenly had an illusion. This did not seem to be a cruel trial. Instead, it could be called a different kind of cultivation. As long as he could endure it, he would be able to see a brand new world and a brand new path. Again, Su Yan roared. His blood-stained body welcomed a huge explosion. The most primitive instinct in his body was awakened, and he resisted the bombarding golden hand. This time, it was even stronger and fiercer than the previous one. When the golden hand hit him, it relied solely on the terrifying confinement power that seemed to originate from the most fundamental power of the universe. Moreover, the boundless palm struck his flesh shell. Su Yan let out a blood-curdling scream. His flesh was lacerated and his bones cracked. His physical body was already very strong and extraordinary. One could imagine how shocking this attack was. Even Su Yan's physical body was about to be smashed apart. Su Yan coughed up blood. His blood-stained hair danced in the wind. Murderous light shot out from his eyes. He could not passively endure the suppression like this. Otherwise, he would really die here. Su Yan's body shone with divine light. His foundation was still there. He released rolling energy substances and evolved into millions of killing swords. They slashed at the world that was imprisoning him. The sky was filled with the rules of the great Tao. They swept over like a vast ocean. Layer after layer, they covered Su Yan and imprisoned him. He was like an imprisoned dragon resisting. His body struck again and again. He was bathed in blood. The deeper he went, the more terrifying the rules of the great Tao became. It was as if countless stars were falling on his body. Boom! The third attack came. It triggered a world-destroying frenzy. The rules of the great Tao resonated with it. They seemed to have turned into millions of palm strikes that attacked Su Yan uniformly. At this moment, Su Yan really felt that he could not withstand it. His body was not strong enough. To be precise, he lacked a certain substance. I have to break out of this situation. Otherwise, I will die here. Su Yan's black hair danced in the wind. He saw the clues of the trial on the mountain. It was equivalent to a world-destroying situation. It was like a strange way that spread the Tao to the world. In the face of the ultimate threat, Su Yan's potential erupted. He longed for the power to break through the world and shatter the prison. Su Yan suddenly had a kind of enlightenment. The Emperor's Sutra rushed through his heart. When he fought with Goldie in the past, he opened the great treasure of heaven and earth in an instant. He received the power of heaven and earth. He was equivalent to a supreme emperor. I can do it with magic power, but so can the body. The body is like the universe. Su Yan said in secret. His words rumbled. All the pores on his body were breathing and gushing out a gray airflow. Suddenly, Su Yan felt that his body was infinitely big. His body changed and turned into a great universe. He stole the power of heaven and earth and penetrated his body. He opened up all the treasures in the human body, evolved the heavens, and created all living things. At this moment, Su Yan was really too majestic. It was as if his body had stepped onto the Emperor's path and walked on a different path. It was as if he had seen through another civilization. It was as if he was on the path of the supreme body cultivator. He focused on cultivating the body and encompassed the world. All the power of treasures was explored from the body, the beginning of heaven and earth. This is the supreme profundity of the beginning sutra. Su Yan was shocked. This was the first sutra he had cultivated on the path of cultivation. It was known as the first celestial art of the celestial court. It was very likely that it was a sutra created by the ancient celestial emperors. I'm the emperor. There is no need for heaven and earth to seal me. He recited silently. He recalled the words of the ancient celestial emperors. An emperor was an emperor. There was no need for heaven and earth to test or recognize him. All battle power came from the body. It was sublimated to the extreme and turned into the heavens of the universe to contend against the myriad worlds. The beginning of heaven and earth. The universe is vast and desolate. Su Yan roared toward the sky. It was as if a great explosion had occurred in his body. He suddenly opened up the treasury and seemed to have obtained endless power and profundities. It was as if he had turned into the seed of the beginning of all living things and was growing stronger. At this moment, the laws of the great Tao appeared in Su Yan's body one after another. It was as if the heavens were condensed in his body. He emitted a tyrannical aura that overflowed the heavens and looked down on everything. Boom! In an instant, heaven and earth collapsed. Su Yan was like a divine dragon that had broken out of its cage. He raised his fist and punched towards the incoming golden hand. It's you. You are really breaking through the mountain. The war god of the Manhuang tribe had arrived. His expression was one of shock as he looked at Su Yan. Chapter 1928. The Manhuang war god was tall and sturdy. His bronze-colored muscles gave off a sense of ferociousness. Every move he made was filled with explosive power. The Manhuang war god race had an ancient heritage. Their ancestors mainly cultivated the physical body and dominated the immortal world. They had once produced a titled emperor. Unfortunately, the path of their ancestors was too difficult. As a result, the Manhuang war god race gradually declined and was about to leave the stage of the emperor race. This was the new war god of the Manhuang war god race. His biggest goal in ascending the first mountain was to take the ultimate test. Back then, the Manhuang war god race had a challenger who was hailed as the most terrifying young war god of the Manhuang war god. He had once reached the peak. Although he didn't obtain any inheritance after descending the mountain, the war god of the Manhuang war god would rise strongly in the future. He walked on an extremely glorious path and even opened the Emperor City's sealed Emperor battlefield. However, he still failed. The new war god of the Manhuang war god walked the path of his ancestors. Even if he really failed, he could still gain valuable experience. This would have a great impact on his growth. Of course, the prerequisite was that the young war god of the Manhuang war god could return alive. The Tenrai of Beach also had the qualifications to take the ultimate test. However, he was clear that this was a dangerous place. He wouldn't obtain anything even if he went there. Moreover, his life would be threatened. It's time to go. The Tenrai of Beach was heroic. His aura was sacred and dignified. Lightning shot out from his eyes. Boom! On the peak of the first mountain, a blazing figure soared. It was as if he was in a sea of chaotic lightning. He emitted an unparalleled aura as if he was looking down on the world. He cultivated the belief that he was the number one person in this era of the universe. The Tenrai of Beach has descended the mountain. Many living beings were surprised. The Tenrai of Beach was ranked second. Didn't he feel disappointed? Why was he wearing a sacred smile? Some people felt that the Tenrai of Beach was magnanimous. This was the peerless demeanor of an expert. Some people also started to frown. Su Yan had killed Little Thunder. Although it was a fair battle, Su Yan had taken Little Thunder's head. Even if the Tenrai of Beach was magnanimous, how could he swallow his anger? What did he find out? Have you discovered the greatest treasure of the human body and grasped its most profound mysteries? Back then, the war god of my race's ancestor discovered that the path of glory of my ancestor was greatly related to the ultimate smelting trial. Savage war god's voice was filled with excitement and fanaticism. This path was specifically targeted at the body, unearthing the unparalleled mysteries of the human body. This was the path that body cultivators pursued. Gradually, he discovered that Su Yan's corporeal body was changing. It suddenly enlarged, as if it had turned into a great universe that occupied between heaven and earth, forcibly tearing apart the laws of order of heaven and earth. This was a kind of profound meaning, which was quite shocking. The treasures in Su Yan's body rumbled and boiled. His aura soared as he grasped the power of the treasures in his body. He raised his fist and punched the giant golden hand. Boom! It was like a thunderclap that was tens of thousands of feet long as it rumbled down. The most powerful strike shattered Su Yan's golden fist into pieces. He had suddenly grasped such a powerful attack, but the result was still too miserable to look at. Moreover, a boundless power surged over, bombarding Su Yan's corporeal body until it trembled. The universe within his body rumbled, as if it was unstable and about to disintegrate. Su Yan growled. He suddenly felt anxious, restless, and irritated. The golden palm firmly slammed into Su Yan's body, triggering the supreme mysteries within his body. A huge problem was created, and there were flaws and imperfections. Moreover, it was extremely difficult to bear. He vaguely grasped the feeling of destruction. There were some problems with the path he was exploring. The order of the universe's great Tao was unstable and on the verge of collapse. Su Yan coughed up blood continuously. His hair was disheveled, as if he had suffered a great Tao injury. Act again. Su Yan growled. The beginning sutra's profundities appeared and scattered down like primordial characters. They were engraved on Su Yan's corporeal body, stabilizing it like the universe's mysteries. However, Su Yan's condition became worse and worse as he continued to deduce and perfect it. Some cracks appeared on his body, and fresh blood spilled out and dyed the ground red. His body felt like it was about to rot. It was exceptionally dangerous. Su Yan grasped the supreme mysteries and wanted to deduce them in one go. However, a problem occurred as soon as he explored this path. He couldn't stabilize the human treasures in his visualization. You can't touch the supreme mysteries. Otherwise, you'll refine yourself to death. The savage war god was anxious for Su Yan. Su Yan was naturally clear about the beginning sutra's strongest mysteries. What kind of person was this? It wasn't something Su Yan could touch. Even if he could comprehend it, it wasn't something he could cultivate. Otherwise, he would really refine himself to death. Just like the heaven-burying rune, it contained the supreme mysteries of the emperor-level powerhouses. Su Yan was relatively insignificant in front of such mysteries. Although he could touch it to obtain power, he definitely couldn't use it to refine himself. Of course, he wouldn't die. However, it was difficult for him to continue with the test in this state. Could it be that he had to withdraw? Realizing that Su Yan's problem was getting worse, the tall and sturdy man in the beast skin became anxious. He paced around on the spot and said, simplifying the complex, the principles of heaven and earth. These words faintly emitted a terrifying demonic aura that engulfed Su Yan's body and mind. He could vaguely see the savage tribe's invincible war god appearing in the sky, emitting boundless power. It was as if 3,000 universes had been opened, and all the gods and demons in the heavens were moving along with it. However, no matter how strong the power of opening heaven and earth was, the invincible war god stood in the core area, looking down on the past and the future, stealing all matter for his use. He was like the ruler of all things in the heavens, his strength reaching the heavens. Su Yan was alert. His body glowed, and the roar of a dragon could be heard, shaking the heavens and earth. The savage tribe's war god was shocked. Su Yan's physical body was really ridiculous. His flesh rumbled, and the roar of a dragon could be heard. This was recorded in the savage tribe's ancient records that only those who had excavated the potential of their physical body to the extreme could possess this ability. At this moment, he was clear that Su Yan must have held back his strength when he ascended the mountain earlier. Act again. Su Yan's heart rumbled. He sorted out the mysteries of the heaven-earth stellar escape technique. He compared his physical body to the universe and used the power of heaven and earth to sort it out. The 9 escape techniques appeared, stabilizing his own Tao. Using the 9 escape techniques, he located the sun, moon, rivers, mountains, and all things in the universe, arranging the power of the human body. In the end, Su Yan was no longer affected and broke free from the obstacles of cultivation. He even became stronger. His breathing was like the rolling of the Milky Way, and his blood was like the eruption of the sea. His hair was like 100,000 killing swords. Although this was a failed product, it couldn't be considered complete. However, Su Yin had become even stronger. His body transformed into a huge life form, and it was glowing, seizing the power of heaven and earth. In an instant, it erupted, and he could activate the profound mysteries of the human body's treasury, attacking all enemies. Many thanked for the guidance. Su Yin laughed loudly. If he hadn't said that just now, this calamity wouldn't have been easy to pass. I was just speaking casually. Could it be that you really comprehended it? The savage tribe's war god was somewhat stunned. Just now, he had shouted out the supreme, profound principles of his tribe's heavenly art in a moment of desperation. He didn't expect that it would be of such great help to Su Yin. At this moment, the fourth attack came bombarding over. Su Yin did everything he could to resist. This was especially true for the current Su Yin who had peeked into the supreme, profound chapters of the Origin Sutra. He could vaguely see that this kind of test was testing the profound mysteries of the physical body's treasury. This was a test that Su Yin had never experienced before. I have to rush over. Su Yin's eyes were wide open as he welcomed the test. This was a place of inheritance, not a place of death. If he passed this test, he would be able to open the path to the heavens and blast out the profound mysteries of the human body's great treasury. This would lay the foundation for his future path as an expert. 9 attacks, you can ascend the mountain. If you have any gains, you can stay and comprehend them. The test won't disturb you. The savage tribe's war god reminded Su Yin. This made Su Yin especially surprised. There was an unparalleled Ingjia in his tribe who had ascended this mountain before. He didn't even have time to ask, because the 5th attack was coming soon. In the following test, each attack was stronger and more perverted than the previous. The golden palm struck until Su Yin's body was full of cracks. Fortunately, he had swallowed a large amount of divine elixir essence before this. Now that they were all leaking out, his injured body quickly recovered. He stood at his peak state and vibrated the laws of order all over his body. Even his essence blood surged out and faced the palm's test. This is already the 6th attack. He might really be able to ascend the mountain. Back then, it was said that the ancestors of my tribe spent a whole few months here before they could climb up. But I feel that with his current state, he might not even need time to comprehend. He can directly rush up. The savage tribe's war god's heart was in great turmoil. Looking at Su Yin, who was getting stronger and stronger, it was hard to imagine that this was a Daesong erupting. Every time he raised his hand, blood would soar into the sky. The sky was filled with destructive pressure. The order of the great Tao evolved into a destructive tide, causing heaven and earth to change color. The divine might was like a flood. The 7th attack made Su Yin tremble. He felt that he had lost half his life. It was really too perverted. One needed to have a strong enough body to endure it. Moreover, one had to grasp the profound mysteries of the human body's treasury, which was equivalent to one's body in Tao. One could easily use unparalleled battle prowess in their generation. The savage tribe's war god watched with wide eyes. It was getting harder and harder to endure. He also had to face it next. He wondered if he could survive. I could do it too, he roared. His whole body emitted a powerful fighting spirit. Although this was a place of 10 deaths and 1 life, as long as he could endure it, he would be able to stimulate his powerful potential. This was what the savage tribe's war god dreamed of. Although there were hidden dragons in the world, and the soaring abyss could also stimulate one's potential, supreme, profound mysteries were something that no place of fortune could give. One could only rely on one's own comprehension. Kill! The instant the 8th attack arrived, Su Yin roared. His hair danced wildly. His body was like the universe. The fist imprint that soared up was so grand that it reflected the mountains, rivers, and stars of the universe. One could imagine how shocking the power of the profound mysteries was contained. Honglong, the entire area exploded. Flowers of blood bloomed in the sky. Su Yin roared. His body seemed to have exploded. He was bathed in blood and went crazy. The divine treasures stored in his body continuously leaked out. Even some of the essence stored in his emperor blood leaked out. This caused Su Yan's body to shine with boundless divine light, tearing apart the dark sky. Boom! Su Yan's pores surged with qi and blood. His entire body was bathed in emperor blood. Moreover, his inner Tao universe resonated. This was the baptism of emperor blood. His flesh and blood seemed to shed a layer of old skin, revealing a sparkling and resplendent physique. The aura he emitted caused the void to tremble. It was intimidating. This is the final attack. It can trap 99% of the challengers. Will he be able to rush up? Just now, he seemed to have bathed in the essence of emperor blood. This person's foundation is too shocking. His strength has increased a step. What monster! He actually hasn't reached the peak of the sage realm. The savage tribe's war god was shocked. If Su Yan was standing at the peak of Daesong, what kind of scene would it be? Su Yan's black hair was like a waterfall. His body flowed with a sparkling luster. His body was vast and terrifying. At this moment, he felt as if he could pluck the stars and capture the moon with a raise of his hand. This was not an illusion. This was the embodiment of reality. The transformation of Su Yan's body was too shocking. It emitted a boundless, domineering aura. Thick qi and blood radiance sputtered out from the top of his head. Together with the mountains, rivers, and stars of the universe appeared. One could see just how monstrous the Tao of the flesh was. Kill! Su Yan erupted with power. An unparalleled fist imprint blasted out towards the summit. He wanted to ascend the land of fortune and witness the supreme inheritance that no one had ever obtained before. Chapter 1929. Su Yan's fist imprint was like a rainbow. The moment it erupted, a resplendent rain of light filled the skies. This was like a true scene of the universe. The fist imprint's grandeur reflected the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers, as well as the veins of the heavens and rivers. It was filled with a shocking strength that could break through all laws, filled with an unrivaled might that could suppress the universe. The chanting of the great Tao flowed out from Su Yan's body. This was the Tao that was born from his body. His body was like the universe, transforming the heavens and earth. He stole the power of the universe and penetrated it into his body, instantly opening up the body's greatest treasure. He could kill all enemies. The young war god of the Manhuang tribe was overwhelmed with emotions. This was the path he wanted to walk in the future. He never thought that Su Yan would have already touched upon it and even grasped it. Then just how strong was his mortal body? Not to mention releasing his magic power. He felt that Su Yan's mortal body could cross a large boundary and directly attack the sovereign realm. This was the lineage of body cultivators. All strength originated from a mortal body, a source of divine strength that could pierce through the heavens and earth. Kill! Su Yan roared. The peak of Fist Mountain was a strength that could be guided out. Moreover, it was grand to the extreme, boundless enough to suppress one's body and mind. Su Yan was horrified. He originally thought that the fist he used was tyrannical enough, but the 9th level of the ultimate smelting trial was like the universe falling down. The pressure could topple mountains and overturn seas, causing the entire mountain to fiercely rumble. The great Tao in the skies resonated with it, rotating and falling down together with it. Su Yan let out a low roar. The fist force that he was so proud of had shattered. His entire body was trembling. It was as if he was being distorted along with the world, turning into a whirlpool. He was about to be distorted into pieces of flesh and blood. What a grand strength! It was impossible to find the source. As the killing intent in the skies dispersed, Su Yan spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Su Yan's eyes lost focus. He had failed. He looked into the dark, starry skies, not discouraged at all. Su Yan crawled up with difficulty, his eyes dark. That strike just now had been too powerful and could have slaughtered him at any moment. But the ultimate smelting trial hadn't killed him. Su Yan's breathing was heavy. He felt hopeless. It wasn't that he wasn't strong enough, but the power that he had just displayed wasn't something that Daesong could touch. Could it be that this path couldn't be taken? But there had been people who had passed and climbed to the top. How could they explain that? Was he that unbearable? However, Su Yin didn't believe it. He was already very powerful. He could face all the enemies in the Sage Realm. This was Su Yin's belief. His Dao Law had really reached the limit. If he couldn't beat them, then it could only be said that he was innately deficient. As Su Yin observed his surroundings and wanted to learn more from the young battle god of the Man Huang tribe, he realized that he was already standing at the peak of the mountain. Ow! Su Yin's face twitched. Had he succeeded? How could this be? He had definitely failed, as there was no way he could survive the 9th Golden Palm Strike. However, how did he manage to climb up? In the next moment, Su Yin understood. It wasn't that he was too weak. In fact, it was an extremely difficult test. Perhaps as long as he could endure it for a while, he would be able to pass. All for nothing? Su Yin frowned and muttered to himself. In fact, he had already gained a lot. He had seen another path to becoming an expert. This was something that couldn't be achieved even after thousands of years of seclusion. The 9 consecutive strikes targeted the Tao of the physical body and the power of the body cultivator. I wonder what all for nothing is. I wonder what I will face. There must be an incredible legacy on this mountain. Su Yin gradually calmed down and let out a roar towards the bottom of the mountain. He wished that the battle god of the Man Huang tribe could also rush up. After doing all this, he walked up the mountain. This was the true peak of the first mountain. It was as if he had arrived at the beginning of the world and stood at the beginning of the world. The world was too big. It was vast and boundless. A mysterious attraction guided Su Yin forward. He was looking forward to what he would experience next. It's my turn. The battle god of the Man Huang tribe took a deep breath and hammered his own chest. He said in a low voice, "Barbarian god, you can do it. You are the new battle god of the Man Huang tribe. You must not disgrace the name of the barbarian god." In the era of his rise, the tribe placed high hopes on him. He was given the title of the new barbarian god. This was the most glorious title that belonged to their tribe. The barbarian god solemnly took out a sealed pill. This was a supreme secret pill given to him by the battle god of the tribe. It was made from the rare emperor blood of the tribe and various rare spiritual herbs and minerals. This pill could not only help the barbarian god grow, but it was also his greatest life-saving trump card. He swallowed the pill. Without hesitation, he began to rush up the mountain to accept the ultimate trial. At this moment, the mountaineering contest was still going on the first mountain. The 3 great experts had already reached the peak. There were more and more people in the second echelon. There were already tens of thousands of outstanding talents. Currently, Bao Kai and the others had already explored the second purgatory. 6 of them had also entered the third purgatory. They already had the qualifications to become core members of the Immortal Cave. It was still too early to discuss when they would rush to the Sea of Purgatory. Everything was still going on. The big shots of the various tribes at the foot of the mountain were all waiting for Su Yin's return. They wanted to see with their own eyes how outstanding this person who had dominated an entire era of the universe was. The Tenrai of Beach has gone down the mountain. Why hasn't Su Yin and the others come down? Some people were discussing. They were probably absorbing the sacred elixir. Only a few people had a premonition that something was wrong. Even if they were absorbing the sacred elixir, there was a time limit. Why hadn't Su Yin and the barbarian god come down mountain? The Tenrai of Beach. A series of old experts walked out from this lineage. They didn't know what to say. They didn't expect that Su Yin would pluck the peach. Once this matter spread out, it would sweep through the vast immortal world. Su Yin would immediately become the most sought-after peerless genius of the immortal world. They originally wanted to comfort the Tenrai of Beach, but who knew that the Tenrai of Beach would be all smiles like a spring breeze? This made them both shocked and happy. It seemed that the Tenrai of Beach wasn't discouraged. He had an unparalleled demeanor. Losing in speed didn't mean losing in battle strength. The Tenrai of Beach still had a chance. The Immortal Demon War was his greatest opportunity. The Tenrai of Beach wore a gentle smile. He had a very elegant demeanor and bearing. This was the demeanor of a peerless expert. It caused people to exclaim in admiration. Although the Tenrai of Beach is ranked second, he is after all the inheritor of the Thunder Immortals lineage. He has mastered the heaven-opening Thunder Scripture. In the future, he will definitely be an unparalleled and shocking figure. I'm looking forward to his performance in the Immortal Demon War. There are 3 places: Su Yen, the barbarian god, and the Tenrai of Beach. These 3 were all qualified to participate in the war. Second place? The Tenrai of Beach smile didn't last long. His eyes were wide open. Lightning flashed in his pupils. His mind was trembling. What was going on? What's second place? He was a little confused. Who could tell him what was going on? Wasn't he the first to ascend a mountain? Why was he still second? What was this? The Tenrai of Beach. A group of old experts who rushed over were surprised. They noticed that the Tenrai of Beach's body was swaying slightly. Their hearts immediately tightened. Could it be that he had used too much of his energy from the sprint? The Tenrai of Beach had just finished his Tao demonstration. It wasn't suitable for him to use force for a long time. He had to go back and rest. Su Yen. At this moment, the Tenrai of Beach's body was a little weak. He felt like he had been punched. His brother was killed by Su Yen. Starry Night had also fallen. The 2 of them had a great hatred of life and death. The Tenrai of Beach originally wanted to dominate the first mountain, look down on the world, and become the strongest person in this era of the universe. Now, Su Yan's appearance gave him a heavy blow, especially when he already felt that he was the strongest in the world. He was supposed to receive the praise of the world when he went down the mountain. Now that the dream was shattered, it was really... He almost coughed out a mouthful of blood. He had almost lost a lot of face. The Tenrai of Beach. The Chaos Immortal Elder was here. He collected his thoughts and took a deep breath. He walked over and greeted, "Greetings, Chaos Immortal Elder. Although you're second, your performance is not bad." The Chaos Immortal Elder praised. Thunder Immortal Elder will be very happy if he knows. It's my honor to be praised by the Chaos Immortal Elder. The Tenrai of Beach's heart was bleeding. He would rather the barbarian god surpass him than see Su Yen take first place and dominate the world. When the first mountain opened, Thunder Immortal Elder had high hopes for him, hoping that he could climb to the top. But in the end, he was actually below Su Yen. This was a humiliation for the Tenrai of Beach. Moreover, Thunder Immortal Elder still couldn't forget Little Thunder's death. How could he be happy? As for the Chaos Immortal Elder, he didn't know at all. What Little Thunder? It was just a small matter. Why would he bother to pay attention to such a small matter? Where did Su Yen go? The people around were also curious. When they saw the Tenrai of Beach shake his head, they were surprised. He didn't know. Where's the barbarian god? The Chaos Immortal Elder frowned. He went to the ultimate trial ground. The Tenrai of Beach said in a low voice, "Chaos Immortal Elder, I have something to do. I'll leave first." Nonsense. The Chaos Immortal Elder was shocked and furious. The people around were also in an uproar. Is he crazy? An old sect master roared. Is he crazy? Are the youngsters nowadays crazy? He even dares to go to the ultimate trial ground. Su Yen is one thing, but is the barbarian god crazy? An old expert who was biased against the human realm shouted angrily. He didn't think that Su Yen, who came from the human realm, would participate in the immortal demon battlefield and be willing to risk his life for the immortal realm. Chaos Immortal Elder, this is a serious matter. We should immediately think of a way to summon them down the mountain. We can't let them mess around. An old expert who was worried about the immortal demon war said in a trembling voice, "These 2 are good seedlings that are hard to find. If they die in the ultimate trial ground, it will be a great loss for our immortal realm." The Chaos Immortal Elder's face was ashen. Wasn't this nonsense? The number 1 mountain under the heavens had opened. The immortal cave also wanted to get peerless geniuses to nurture, but they went to die. Muexian's face was pale. Her delicate body swayed. The ultimate trial ground, 10 deaths, 1 life. Big Gold didn't care. If they went, then so be it. Wasn't it just a trial ground? If they couldn't break it, it meant they weren't good enough. In short, the entire world had gone crazy. After all, there were bloody examples. Even the peerless geniuses of the immortal cave had died in the ultimate trial ground back then. That was a land of death. At this moment, Su Yin was approaching the land of inheritance. He found a stone tablet. It was pure white like jade, and there was a human-shaped imprint on it. Su Yin was shocked. The stone tablet shone, and the imprint on it came to life. A barefoot farmer walked out, carrying a simple and unadorned axe. He looked at Su Yin. "You are..." Su Yin was shocked. "There was a living creature here? I haven't seen a youngster come for many years." The farmer's eyes were turbid, his body was stooped, and he was lethargic. He smiled and said, "Youthful vitality makes me yearn for it. Senior, could it be the master of the first mountain?" Su Yin was overwhelmed with emotions. There was a living creature on the mountain. If this news spread, who knew how many races would be shocked? Most of the emperor races would be no exception. Chapter 1930. The barefoot farmer had a stooped back and didn't answer Su Yin's question. He was lethargic and his eyes were turbid. This was the manifestation of the stone tablet's imprint. He walked out with an ancient axe and gently swung it forward. Kacha! A space-time crack appeared. It was deep and terrifying, accompanied by the boundless light of time. This axe seemed to have opened up the long river of time and penetrated through one cosmic era after another. This kind of power that had returned to the origin shocked Su Yin greatly. Just what was the background of this barefoot farmer? Could it be that the imprint on the stone tablet was a special life form that had been enlightened by a supreme existence? The space-time crack opened by this axe also gradually returned to silence. One could see the source of the crack. There was a huge copper palace. The copper palace seemed to have passed away in the long river of time. Its doors suddenly opened and swallowed Su Yin directly. It was difficult to resist along the way. This kind of terrifying power had an unknown origin. It seemed to be accompanied by the passage of time and suppressed Su Yin to the point of suffocation. Very soon, he returned to normal. The interior of the copper palace was completely empty. There were no furnishings or scenes, just what was hidden on the peak of the first mountain. Perhaps this secret would be revealed very soon. Su Yin stood up and walked forward. However, he was shocked at the next moment. His entire body was confined by a formless energy and couldn't move at all. Did this power originate from the copper palace? The ancient copper palace was vast and boundless. It was unknown what material it was made of, but it vaguely gave Su Yin a fatal threat. It was mysterious and unfathomable. It was as if it could directly crush Su Yin into pieces when it unleashed its might. "Senior, why did you send me here?" Su Yin raised his head and asked. "Fortune, inheritance, comprehension." The barefoot farmer transmitted his words. "I'll give you 10 years to memorize the Copper Palace's ultimate arts and comprehend some of its profundities. Then you can pass the trial." Inheritance? Su Yin scratched his head in bewilderment and astonishment. The entire Copper Palace had confined him, and he couldn't even see any traces of the inheritance? Where was the inheritance? 10 years. In the next moment, Su Yin was horrified and shouted, "Senior, can this junior come again next time? I can't wait for 10 years. I still have important matters to attend to in the outside world. Since we've entered the world mountain and come to the land of inheritance, we have no other choice." The barefoot farmer's words came again. It was unknown where he was observing Su Yin from, but he said calmly, "If you fail within 10 years, I'll erase your memories and send you down the mountain." Su Yin felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Nothing, this was nothing. If you failed, you would have your memories severed. It was no wonder that no one from the first mountain had been able to uncover its secrets for so long. Everyone who failed had their memories severed. However, Su Yin really couldn't wait for 10 years. There were only 3 or 4 years left before the start of the Great War of the Immortals and Devils. "Senior, is there no room for negotiation?" Su Yin bitterly spoke. 10 years was too long. There was no way he would miss out on the Immortal Devil War. The shortcut to the Immortal King path was something he had to take. Although the supreme inheritance was tempting, the risk was too great. Once Su Yin failed, all his efforts would be for naught. How is this possible? Su Yan's heart was filled with endless coldness. Small Pagoda had fallen silent. Although Small Pagoda was in hibernation to nurture the 10th level, Small Pagoda had always been circulating in his sea of consciousness. Su Yan couldn't sense any aura at all. It was clearly in his sea of consciousness, but it was as if it had disappeared. How frightening was the land of inheritance of the First Mountain. Small Pagoda was qualified to fight against a titled Great Emperor, but even so, it was forcefully suppressed. It wouldn't allow anything to affect Su Yan's comprehension of the inheritance. Su Yan clenched his fists tightly. Such a shocking inheritance. Su Yan had a feeling that it was even more terrifying than the reward for being the strongest in the great war of the immortals and devils. Moreover, if he was given 10 years to break through, would Su Yan complete it in advance? Now I can only risk it all. I'll do my best to break through. I have to break through the land of inheritance before the start of the great war of the immortals and devils. Su Yan's eyes blazed. The inheritance must be hidden in the Copper Palace. Although he couldn't see it, he could still draw it out. His body blazed. His corporeal body stood at the peak of the domain. However, even in his peak state, he couldn't break through the Copper Palace's confinement on Su Yan. The source of this confinement power couldn't be found. It seemed to originate from the heavens, from time, and from the environment. It was as if a deep abyss had collapsed, suppressing Su Yan's body and mind. Rumble! The blood and chi in his body boiled and howled. The more he struggled, the more shocking the pressure was. Struggling to the extreme, his body blossomed like the universe. A blurry light of supreme profoundness circulated in Su Yan's body, causing the treasures in his body to rumble. In an instant, he obtained a shocking strength. Plucking the stars and capturing the moon was as easy as pie. Su Yan in his strongest state contained the might of thunder and lightning. His pure corporeal strength appeared. His pores emitted the light of the primordial profoundness of all things. When his inner Tao universe trembled, Su Yan could vaguely sense it. The Copper Palace changed. In an instant, it became countless times more majestic. There was no end in sight. A living being standing here was as small as a speck of dust. It was clear how vast the universe inside the Copper Palace was. Su Yan was imprisoned under the Copper Palace. He raised his head and looked at the top of the Copper Palace. Gradually, countless dense patterns appeared. One after another, they were like golden palm prints that pressed down. Each palm print seemed small, but they were actually as majestic as the heavens. They contained unrivaled power that could move the heavens and overturn the universe. This was the embodiment of supreme profoundness, containing the principles of heaven and earth. This scripture, outside the Copper Palace, the barefoot farmer was astonished. In the past, there were pinnacle heroes who fought their way to the mountain peak. Among them, there were a few who sat there for 10 years and couldn't see any inheritance. They were directly expelled. There were also some who spent 3 to 4 years before they could barely see some of the supreme profoundness. In short, to memorize all the Tao inheritances within 10 years was too harsh. At the same time, it also meant that one needed to be an unrivaled character in order to break through the land of inheritance. However, Su Yan grasped an extremely special scripture. Although the supreme profoundness emitted from his body was incomplete, he could still see a portion of the Copper Palace's inheritance. This was extremely terrifying. The scripture he grasped was also broad and profound. One law could connect to 10,000 laws. This bought him precious time, and perhaps he really did have a chance of breaking through. Su Yan was dizzy and exhausted. He fell to the ground and fell into a deep sleep. The sky was filled with golden palm prints. They carried supreme profoundness and contained the principles of heaven and earth. Su Yan was exhausted as he observed the process. It was as if his body and mind had fallen into darkness. 10 years is too short. I can't sleep. Su Yan roared. He seemed to have gone mad. The dormant, tin-colored precious blood suddenly surged with a rumble, emitting supreme bloodline energy. It passed through his limbs and bones, causing Su Yan's aura to become even more powerful. This was his most hidden trump card. He had almost never used it before. The instant the 10-colored precious blood awakened, he seemed to have transformed into a 10-colored god of war. A divine eye appeared between his brows, and his comprehension rose by a large margin. Unknowingly, Su Yan's bloodline transmitted a terrifying resistance. It blocked the supreme profoundness that filled the sky and suppressed him, allowing him to see more clearly. The dense pattern diagrams that appeared on the Copper Palace's roof gradually changed in Su Yan's eyes. Golden palm prints emerged with the principles of heaven and earth. The sun, moon, mountains, rivers, flowers, birds, fishes, insects, and the heavens of the universe were all manifesting. Every palm was so vast that it covered the reincarnation cycle of the heavens. The moment it pressed down, it extracted the essence of a universe and condensed a peerless killing intent equal to that of the master of the universe. The power of the heavens, Su Yan sighed in amazement. Any hand could evolve the limit of the universe. Could it be understood as the power of the heavens? Su Yan's body shone. He was clearly excited and crazy. This was a supreme secret technique. Once grasped, it would be of great help to him. Needless to say, it would have a heaven-defying effect. It was equivalent to a supreme killing technique. To be precise, this was not a secret technique. Instead, it was more like a supreme mystery. Although Su Yan was young, the scriptures he cultivated were all ancient and dazzling. Moreover, he was proficient in the strange arts. The initial scripture had also peered into the supreme mysteries. Thus, he felt that he could comprehend it in less than 10 years. Let's begin. Su Yan grinned. If he couldn't grasp this opportunity, then the heavens would not tolerate it. After all, he had the advantage of time, place, and people. He also wanted to know what the first mountain would give him after breaking the land of inheritance. This was a land of good fortune that no one could obtain. Could it be that it was the same as the mysterious skeleton in the past, an invincible giant that accompanied the origin of the immortal source? Could it be the orthodoxy left behind by such a person? Outside the Copper Palace, on top of the mountain, the barbarian god was struggling. His body was covered in blood. He wanted to use the mountain's ultimate test to retrace his ancestral path. The first mountain, the Sea of Purgatory, had already gathered more than 10 creatures. Until now, no one had been able to break through. Big Goldie valued Baokai more and more. What was the path of the beast god? Baokai's bloodline contained the blood of 10,000 beasts. However, any bloodline was an immemorial, ferocious beast. It was extremely difficult to refine it. Without a strong spirit, it was impossible to do so. Now that Baokai had rushed into the Sea of Purgatory, if it was suppressed by the spiritual force, it might be able to transform and completely embark on the path of the divine beast. At this moment, the immortal world was still in chaos. The celestial tyrant Lord's death had not been found yet. Now, a piece of news had spread and instantly caused a sensation in the immortal world. Heaven's equal sage king, Su Yan, a title was infinitely glorious and supreme. It could be said that no one in the world did not know him. The first person to reach the pinnacle of the first mountain, Su Yan, even the Tenrai of Beach, was suppressed. A super dark horse had appeared out of nowhere and exploded in the immortal world. His influence was so great that it set off stormy waves and caused heated discussions among the various races in the immortal world. In just half a month, Su Yan had become an influential figure and was listed as the pinnacle of the generation in the immortal world. The pinnacle of the first mountain was actually plucked by Su Yan. He was also listed in the challenge letter. How strong is this person? Too many people were shocked and surprised. This outcome was too unexpected. Even if the barbarian god had surpassed the Tenrai of Beach, they would not be too shocked. However, Su Yan's fame was not too great, but he became famous in one battle. He climbed to the pinnacle and looked down on the world. At the same time, the Xian people were furious. Why was it him? They could not believe that an ant that they could crush at any time in the mortal world had such terrifying achievements. He's just a dead man. It's nothing. The upper echelons of the starry sky emperor races were in an uproar. They immediately received news that Su Yin had gone to the ultimate land of refinement, causing the upper echelons of the various races to be overjoyed. This brat has really forced himself into a dead end. Many people were stunned. They did not dare to believe this news. The mortality rate in the first mountain's ultimate land of refinement was too high. 10 deaths and 1 life. He dared to go to such a difficult land of refinement? Who gave him the courage to do so? Nonsense. In the celestial monkey race, the old monkey was also shocked. This was because the race once had a war god seed with an extremely powerful physical body go to the ultimate land of refinement, but in the end he never returned. Throughout the history of the immortal world, the number of existences that the old monkey knew of that had survived the ultimate land of refinement could be counted on one hand. Would Su Yin become the new lucky one? Moreover, it was not just Su Yin. The barbarian god of the savage race had also gone. 2 peerless geniuses had gone to the ultimate land of refinement in succession. The upper echelons of the immortal Old Academy were also shocked. Wasn't this nonsense? The great war between immortals and demons was about to begin. The immortal world was in need of people. If 2 peerless geniuses fell, it would be a great loss to the immortal world. FPZW. Chapter 1931. The immortal world was in a perilous situation. 2 great talents had gone to the ultimate trial ground. In the history of the immortal world, only a few people had survived. Some people were worried, some sneered, and some said that they had overestimated themselves. Is it really a land of death? Neither of them can leave the mountain? Some people were terrified. This was a heavy blow to the immortal world. It was hard to produce a great figure in an era of the universe. Now, 2 of them are going to die. The barbarian god might survive because their clan once had a terrifying war god who came down the mountain alive. Someone sighed in admiration and then said coldly, "As for Su Yin, does he want to stand shoulder to shoulder with Empress and the others?" This sentence silenced many people. Although they acknowledged Su Yin's strength, who was the princess? She and the young emperor had both survived the ultimate trial. Because of this, their fame had spread far and wide. They had the bearing of great emperors and were revered by the world. They lived in legends and legends. But Su Yin, who came from the human world, dared to dream of standing shoulder to shoulder with them? Some people thought that Su Yin was too arrogant. He had defeated the Tenrai of Beach, but he was not invincible. As far as I know, they're not the only ones. There are some who survived. This opportunity caused the older generation to sigh. Losing and staying alive is not glorious. But the princess and the others are different because they broke the ultimate trial ground and came back alive. This caused a shocking impact. What was hidden on the mountain? Could it be that the princess could not find the answer? Were the young emperor and the others not strong enough? The young emperor had already left the immortal cave and stepped into the immortal king realm. Why did they go to the ultimate trial ground? Bamboo Moon was worried. She and Zixia Fairy had come down the mountain and obtained the opportunity to cultivate in the outer area of the immortal cave for 10 years. It was like a nightmare to suddenly hear about this. "Don't worry, Bamboo Moon. Su Yin will not mess around," Zixia Fairy said softly. Zixia Fairy said softly. There must be a major problem with this mountain. Back then, Master also said that there might be an extraordinary inheritance. Maybe Su Yin has gained something. Bamboo Moon's heart was uneasy. The whole world was in a hubbub of voices. The storm caused by this incident was too shocking. Time passed day after day. Ever since the 3 top heroes broke into the mountain, hundreds of Ingjia had been trapped in the Purgatory Ocean. So far, no one had reached the peak of the first mountain. From this, it could be seen how powerful the 3 Tenrai of Beach were. In the Copper Palace, Su Yin lost track of time. The palace was huge, grand, and vast. One couldn't see the end of it. The entire top of the palace was sprinkled with golden patterns, one after another, like a huge waterfall falling down. The more Su Yin observed, the deeper his understanding of the Copper Palace's hidden inheritance became. His harvest was also greater. Gradually, he was shaken. It was as if he could see the heavens and the universe moving. This was not a natural force, but a force formed by man. He even discovered that the walls of the huge Copper Palace were covered in dense, endless golden engravings. There were too many. Su Yin felt as if he was in the ancient universe. His body turned into a small boat, sailing on the universe's ocean, bearing the impact of the stormy waves and bearing the suppression of the laws of heaven and earth. System, a complete cultivation civilization. Su Yin whispered. He had touched upon a brand new cultivation civilization. The body was supreme. This was something he had never encountered before. It was as if he had returned to the time when the world was created. The strong were as numerous as trees in the forest, and the fierce beasts were rampant. The human race excavated the potential of the body and created the path of body cultivation. They fought with the fierce beasts with their bodies. The great path of body cultivation. The more he saw, the more profound the patterns were, from shallow to deep. Suddenly, Su Yan's sea of consciousness shook. The world changed. The Copper Palace seemed to have been destroyed and turned into a primitive world. Roar. Low roars exploded, one after another. It was as if endless thunder had fallen. The entire world was filled with a cold, austere aura that wanted to tear apart one's soul, sever one's flesh, and extinguish one's life force. This was a supreme, killing move. A head full of golden beasts pounced down, one after another. It was an endless flood of iron and blood. If an ordinary person's body was destroyed, they would not be able to survive. This killing power was too abnormal. Su Yin let out a loud roar. His black hair danced in the wind as he raised his fist and attacked the beasts that were pouncing toward him. He was majestic and imposing, drawing blood with every punch. Every strike caused the human body to resonate, the inner universe to operate, and the giant beasts to explode. It was as if he was walking the path of the ancient ancestors. He bathed in blood and killed, creating the path of body cultivation and tempering his body into a great killing machine. The second trial. It's only been a year. The barefoot farmer was astonished. Su Yan's speed was too fast. He had already unlocked the second trial. If he was strong enough, he might be able to open the third trial in a few years. In short, Su Yin was the fastest in history. The subsequent trials would only get more difficult. He could faintly see a glimmer of hope from Su Yin. Kill! Su Yin roared. The more he fought, the more ferocious he became. The giant beasts pouncing toward him began to tremble. His flesh and blood surged with unparalleled power. It was as if he had turned into the ancestral body of the human race as he attacked the giant beasts. Su Yin was the least afraid of battle. His ferocity was too strong. He attacked the heavens and the earth. He grew in battle, absorbing the inheritance's nutrients and crazily breaking through. Comprehension. He had to crazily comprehend. Every giant beast was formed from a secret pattern diagram and contained the crystallization of a cultivation civilization's realm. After exploding, they turned into a brilliant rain of golden light that sprinkled onto Su Yan's body. They were like the inheritance's nutrients, flowing in the soil and nurturing the war god's seed, allowing it to grow healthily. He had to succeed. Su Yin had already gained a lot. However, the premise was that if he failed, all his gains would be for naught. Kill! Su Yan's eyes were blood red. He entered a frenzied state. It was as if he had turned into an ancient, ferocious beast. He charged into the enemy army and killed day after day. Month after month, his ferocious aura became stronger and stronger. The strength of his body became more and more terrifying. He could easily destroy the great Tao of heaven and earth. Unbelievable. Look! At this moment, the experts of various races gathered at the foot of the first mountain exclaimed in unison. Many people's eyes were trembling as they pointed at the mountain peak. The loud roar was like a roar that shook the universe. The aura of 10,000 beasts appeared. Under the influence of Bao Cai's terrifying spiritual will, A giant figure was outlined and rushed toward the mountain peak. Baokai roared and kept repeating in its mind, "I'm the beast god, the king of beasts, the commander of all beasts in the world." The Sea of Purgatory tortured it for more than a year. In the end, its ferocious will awakened. Under self-hypnosis, it condensed the aura of the king of beast gods and controlled all beasts. It opened the inheritance of the beast god and reached the top of the first mountain. How can it be him? How can it be him? The Xian people's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Tai Baokai, a creature under Su Yan's command, had reached the top of the first mountain. All over the world, the people of the human realm were stunned and petrified. The fourth person had appeared. It was another super dark horse. However, the problem was that it came from the human realm like Su Yan. This matter caused a huge commotion. The Chaos Deity Elder was even worried that this person would mess around. He even sent a voice transmission to tell it not to enter the ultimate trial ground and to leave the mountain immediately after absorbing the fortune. However, the Chaos Deity Elder specially sent Baokai to the ultimate trial ground to see if Su Yin and the Barbarian God were still alive. It had already been more than a year. The Barbarian God had long since failed countless times. However, he still launched powerful attacks again and again. What's the point of asking? Su Yin should have died long ago. The Barbarian God is no exception. An expert from the Tenrai of Beech's bloodline sneered. Once these two died, how could a mere Tai Baokai contend against the Tenrai of Beech? Although these words were a bit shameless, didn't it mean that the Tenrai of Beech possessed great fortune? The fourth person to reach the pinnacle of the first mountain came from the human realm. This was someone who had reached the top of the first mountain and was directly nurtured as a peerless genius. From this, it could be seen how shocking the storm caused by Baotsai's success was. The human realm, Su Yan, Tai Baokai. These two rose too suddenly. This incident caused a stir among the clan's upper echelons who had been silent and grieving. An immortal king from the Lun clan growled, "It's been almost 2 years, and we still can't find the real culprit. Do you think it could be the human realm? If they went to the Emperor's repository Dao Cave, there might be some possibility." An expert from the Lun clan had a gloomy expression. However, no one could determine whether Su Yin and the others had really gone there. The Emperor's repository Dao Cave had resisted the various great Emperor clans' explorations for a long time. One could imagine that the Bury the Heavens had left behind an incredible foundation. Even if there's a glimmer of hope, we can't miss it. Looks like we'll have to go to the first mountain. The clan's upper echelons all had cold expressions. The fall of the Celestial Tyrant had caused this clan to go completely crazy. There was nothing they didn't dare to do. So what if Su Yin and Baokai were peak talents? No matter who was behind the fall of the Celestial Tyrant, they would have to pay a heavy price. Another 3 months passed. Su Yin was like the reincarnation of an Azura. His black hair fell like a waterfall, and his ferocious aura filled the sky. Endless slaughter. This was terrifying. He was really a battle maniac, born to be a battle maniac. The barefoot farmer was shocked. He had only used half a year to complete the cruel training that should have taken 3 years. Su Yin was bathed in blood. Strange energy waves rose from his pores. Boom! In an instant, a destructive aura surged. It was extremely domineering, and it caused the world to tremble. The few remaining giant beasts in the sky trembled, and they were about to explode one after another. Kill! Su Yin roared into the sky. He was like a sleeping giant that had been resurrected. The day song in the sky exploded again, and he stood proudly like a peerless emperor. TSK, TSK. Su Yan's domineering aura filled the sky. His hair danced like a waterfall, and he tore apart the giant beasts in the sky. If this scene was witnessed by others, they would be shocked. The giant beasts in the sky were all at the level of the day song. However, Su Yan's black hair danced wildly, and he released a terrifying force. Strand after strand of hair tore apart the giant Daesong beasts in the sky. What kind of terrifying combat strength was this? Was this the legendary invincible body? Every strand of hair was like a great killing weapon, and every pore was like a wormhole in the universe. Su Yin stood between the heavens and the earth, and he had a peerless, domineering aura. Chapter 1932. Blazing shadows, tyrannical battle prowess, absolute power. This was simply an invincible body. His hair danced in the wind, tearing apart the heavens and splitting the stars. Upon closer inspection, one could see that Su Yan's body had reached the pinnacle, as if it had given birth to a true universe. As he breathed, the world rumbled, and Su Yan's figure became infinitely large, as if the universe had given birth to a supreme god. This was very powerful and abnormal. He had peeked into the Copper Palace's inheritance and perfected the Tao of the Interverse. The deeper he walked on this path, the stronger his battle prowess would be. Su Yan's divine eyes were like lightning as he saw the Copper Palace change. All the rune diagrams flickered, turning into one giant palm print after another. Each palm print was filled with the power to crush eternity and break the river of time. This was definitely a supreme inheritance left behind by an unrivaled being. This should be the most fundamental inheritance. As long as he could comprehend it, he would be able to pass. How much time has passed? Su Yin shouted. He had forgotten everything while immersed in killing and comprehending. He was truly worried that after 7 or 8 years, the great war of immortals and demons would have ended long ago. 2 years, the barefoot farmer replied. As long as you can comprehend the third layer of the inheritance, you can become an unnamed disciple of the heaven-splitting faction. The heaven-splitting faction? Su Yan's expression changed, and then his eyes widened. Unnamed disciple? What the hell was that? Who had left behind this inheritance? With his potential, he was only qualified to become an unnamed disciple of the first mountain. If news of this spread, who would dare to imagine it? The heaven-splitting faction? Su Yin muttered. He thought of the 10 great heaven scriptures. This was a legend in the immortal world. Even now, no one knew whether the 10 great heaven scriptures were natural or man-made. Now, the strongest inheritance of the first mountain allowed him to become an unnamed disciple of the heaven-splitting faction. Su Yin could not help but think, could it be related to the 10 great heaven scriptures? There was no point in thinking too much. He had yet to break through the inheritance, so thinking about this was meaningless. Once he failed, all his gains would be mercilessly taken away. 2 years. I still have time. Also, I want to break through in 2 years and charge out. Su Yin roared in a low voice, encouraging himself. He had to do it. He had to leave with the inheritance. Once he severed his memories, everything would be for naught. Su Yin rushed towards the first golden palm print. Just as he neared, the palm print glowed and pressed down with a loud rumble. Su Yin felt as though he was seeing the end of the universe. The world withered, the heavens collapsed, and order ceased to exist. At this moment, Su Yin felt that everything he had learned was insignificant and pitiful. It was as if he was being suppressed by the strongest force in the world. The inheritance test here did not require Su Yin to master it. As long as he could comprehend some profound meaning, he could pass. The barefooted farmer was also looking forward to it. Countless years had passed, and no one had been able to complete the breakthrough within 10 years. The conditions were too harsh. There had been exceptional geniuses before, and if they were given a few more years, they might have a chance to succeed. Unfortunately, a place of inheritance was a place of inheritance. Even if they were given a few more years to comprehend it, they still wouldn't have the qualifications to grasp the inheritance and bring it to greater heights. He's gone down a mountain. Look, he's gone down a mountain. At the foot of the first mountain, the entire world was in an uproar. Ever since Su Yin had gone to the ultimate land of refinement, 2 years and 3 months had passed. The Baokai, it's the Baokai. Bamboo Moon's emotions were surging. She had waited bitterly for over 2 years, anxious and restless every day. Now, she could finally hear news of Su Yin. Gradually, Bamboo Moon's expression became more and more anxious. The Baokai was carrying a figure covered in blood down the mountain. Others might not be able to recognize this heavily wounded expert, but Bamboo Moon was well aware that this was not her man. Who is it? Is it Su Yin or the barbarian god? Many people were nervous, but there were also some who were relieved. Of these two apex heroes, it was better for one to fall than two to die in battle. Now, the first mountain had another apex hero. Including Su Yin, there were a total of 5 apex heroes. This selection of the first mountain was comparable to the most glorious era. There were a total of 5 apex heroes, and there were still a large number of experts trapped in the sea of purgatory. Perhaps there was still hope for them to escape. It's the barbarian god. The Baokai descended the mountain. The experts of the Tenrai of Beak's lineage walked over to investigate. They immediately laughed and said, Su Yin died up there? Why didn't they bring his corpse down? Bullsh asterisk T. The Baokai was furious. Its eyes were wide open as it roared. You old dog, your dog mouth can't spit out ivory. Who said my brother is dead? Which dog eye of yours saw my brother die? You. The warrior from the Heavenly Thunder King's bloodline was so angry that his face changed. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets as he pointed at Baokai and scolded. You be asterisk starred. How dare you insult and disrespect me? With that, he raised his hand to teach the Baokai a lesson. However, the Chaos Immortal Elder's unparalleled heavenly aura came crashing down. With a boom, he trembled and spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was about to collapse. You're really impudent. Are you happy that Su Yin died? The Chaos Immortal Elder was furious. He valued Su Yin and thought that he was worthy of nurturing. However, the Tenrai of Beak's lineage was too happy, wasn't it? This lineage had gone too far. If Su Yin survived, he would be a main force in the great war of immortals and demons. However, these people were mocking and ridiculing him. Were they treating the immortal world's most important matter as a game? Calm down, Immortal Elder. A group of experts knelt down and begged for mercy, trembling. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. The Chaos Immortal Elder is magnanimous, unlike some people who are so evil that they can't bear to see others rise. Tai Baokai shouted angrily. This group of dogs laughed out loud. It seemed that they couldn't wait for Su Yin to die immediately. This group of experts of the Tenrai of Beak's lineage were furious. However, they didn't dare to say a word and just knelt down and begged for mercy. Su Yin, the Chaos Immortal Elder, frowned. Had he died, he also checked the barbarian god's injuries and immediately ordered his followers, immediately bring the barbarian god into the immortal cave and nourish him with the heaven and earth dragon pool. Move quickly. Some of the veteran experts who had gathered around were shocked. This treatment was too good, wasn't it? The Heaven and Earth Dragon Pool was one of the strongest treasures of the Immortal Cave. The barbarian god's injuries suddenly became serious. If he was nourished by the Heaven and Earth Dragon Pool, it wouldn't take long for him to recover. My brother is fine, Tai Baokai said proudly. He climbed the mountain. What did you say? The Chaos Immortal Elder's eyes widened. His voice was filled with excitement and shock. Su Yin had passed the ultimate test? Tai Baokai didn't expect the Chaos Immortal Elder's reaction to be so intense. Even the nearby experts were shocked. Had he passed the ultimate test? Was he the next princess or young emperor? You're full of nonsense. The experts of the Tenrai of Beak couldn't help but say, What's wrong with you? Did you see Su Yin climb the mountain with your own eyes? How can it be fake? Tai Baokai felt that Su Yin had most likely done something big. He said proudly, Wait for Brother Barbarian God to wake up. You can ask him in person and you'll know. This area was in an uproar. Was this for real? Even though Baokai had personally said that it was a done deal, none of the experts dared to believe this news. It was too shocking. How many years had passed? Who would dare to challenge the ultimate refinement ground? Moreover, no one had ever broken through the ultimate refinement ground. But now Baokai told them that Su Yin had passed the test. They didn't believe it at all. In short, this was too shocking. I don't believe it. Someone from the Xian people stood up and said, Maybe Su Yin has been at the top of the mountain all this time. Like Barbarian God, he failed and survived. Old man, you're hurting my heart. Baokai was furious. What did he mean? Someone from the Reincarnation Imperial family also stood up and shook his head. He said, No one knows whether Su Yin has climbed the mountain or not. But everyone knows that once he has climbed the mountain, he will receive the best training from the immortal cave. Baokai was flustered and exasperated. They were questioning Su Yin, accusing him of lying and deliberately delaying to go down the mountain. I believe that our barbarian god wouldn't lie. Thank you, little brother, for bringing our barbarian god down the mountain. At this moment, an old expert from the savage barbarian imperial family stood up for Su Yin. He couldn't stand the despicable way the Xian people acted when they couldn't see someone rising. Senior, you're the most open-minded and fair one. Baokai bared his teeth and said, you'll know when barbarian god comes out. Now you're framing my brother. Be careful of being slapped in the face. The experts from the Xian people and other clans all looked gloomy. Was it true? Su Yin had broken the ultimate trial grounds test? Bamboo Moon's hanging heart gradually calmed down. According to her understanding, as long as they could break the trial ground, they would definitely be able to go down the mountain safely. Then it was only a matter of time before Su Yin returned. Months passed by one after another. The third inheritance of the Copper Palace, the 9 Great Palm Prince, perfectly described the ultimate power of the physical body. Su Yin seemed to have experienced life and death 9 times. He was now in a predicament. His mind felt like it had fallen into darkness. I can't do it. I can't do it. Su Yin felt bitter. It had been 9 months. He had studied a palm print inheritance every month. 9 months had passed. Then he had been trapped in the Copper Palace for 2 years and 9 months. In these 9 months, Su Yin pondered the supreme mysteries contained in the palm prints. But he felt that it was too difficult. It wasn't something he could comprehend on his own. Even if there were a few mysteries, he couldn't comprehend it. Despair? Su Yin felt that this was enough to make one despair. How could he comprehend it? The 9 great palm imprints represented 9 supreme mysteries. However, there was no way to comprehend them at all. It wasn't a matter of time. It was like facing a beautiful woman lying on the bed, but you didn't know how to undress or how to explore the mysteries of the human body. Su Yin felt so bad that he wanted to cry. It was too difficult. Time passed by. Su Yin was very anxious. He was really anxious, but he knew that if he continued like this, he wouldn't be able to comprehend it. Even if he was given many years, he wouldn't be able to comprehend it. After all, he was an immortal king. This was a supreme Tao that only immortal kings were qualified to come into contact with. Suddenly, a thought flashed through Su Yan's mind. Since he couldn't comprehend it, he could try another path. The 9 great destructive palm prints floated in Su Yan's sea of consciousness. It was as if the heavens had sunk, pressing down on Su Yan's soul until it trembled. This power, Su Yan let out a dreamlike voice. His body couldn't circulate and activate, but there was a way. Su Yan raised his hand. The heavens and the earth looked very grand. What was one hand of his compared to it? But the heaven and earth looked insignificant in front of a true, invincible being. They were like seawater that could be grasped in the palm of one's hand. Boom! Suddenly, Su Yan's body resonated. His body was a little blurry, and it was extremely terrifying. In an instant, Su Yan erupted. A huge figure appeared behind him, looking down on the vast universe with a great aura, as if it was looking down on all living things. The flesh and blood Dharma idol was as tall as the heaven and earth. It suddenly moved its palms. The heaven and earth seemed to be rotating in its palms. This was a real world in the palm. It hid the universe, mountains, rivers, and all things in the universe. It was majestic to the extreme. Heavenly palm. Su Yan's soft voice seemed to have attracted a thunderclap. The sealed Copper Palace suddenly opened. How many eras, how many epochs have I been waiting for someone to say the name of opening the Copper Palace's seal? I didn't expect it to happen to you. The barefoot farmer exclaimed. It hadn't even been 3 years. He didn't expect Su Yin to comprehend the mysteries of the 9 gate palm prints. He only wanted him to say the supreme mysteries of the palm prints. That's right, this was the heavenly palm. It could move the 3 realms. Chapter 2. Brothers, I'm begging for monthly votes. Chapter 1933. That's it. Su Yin found it hard to calm down. A magical journey had ended just like that. He slowly stood up. His long black hair draped over his shoulders. He recalled the mysteries of the nine palm prints. The supreme inheritance gradually became blurry and disappeared from Su Yan's memory. It was as if it had never appeared and never been obtained. It was like a dream. Gradually, a smile bloomed on Su Yan's face. He did not force it, nor did he visualize it. It was because he had already memorized all the techniques. He did not need to deliberately comprehend them. If he deliberately remembered them, then so be it. Don't force it. When the time is right, you will have a great harvest. The barefoot farmer appeared beside Su Yan. This inheritance palm technique contained the supreme mysteries of operating the heavens. All the techniques were hidden between heaven and earth, waiting for Su Yan to explore and discover. I already know. I will cultivate diligently in the future and try to display the mysteries of the Yuntian palm. Su Yan clenched his fist. The inheritance of the Copper Palace was a supreme secret technique. He had only just opened the door to the treasure. It was still a big problem for him to discover it in the future. You are now a registered disciple of the World Mountain. There is no need to be so polite. The barefoot farmer said, "May I ask, Senior, what is the World Mountain?" Su Yan frowned. "May I ask, what is the heaven-splitting faction? Whose orthodoxy and inheritance did I get? I am very confused. I hope Senior can give me an answer." "You will know the origin of the World Mountain when you become a disciple of the inheritance." The barefoot farmer reminded Su Yan, "The day you master the Yuntian palm is the day you become a disciple of the World Mountain. You only have a key now. How to open the treasure depends on your own efforts." "I understand." Su Yan felt it was a pity. He did not ask more. He would not get any answer even if he asked. Moreover, the first mountain would be open for 3 years. Su Yan clasped his hands and said, "I still have some things to do. I will go down the mountain first. How will I climb the mountain when I master the Yuntian palm?" "Why? Are you in a hurry to leave?" The barefoot farmer smiled. "You have become a registered disciple of the World Mountain. Although you are not a disciple of the inheritance, the World Mountain should give you some treatment." "Haha. Thank you, Senior." Su Yan was pleasantly surprised. Behind this supreme land of inheritance was an unimaginable, invincible giant. Just some random resources bestowed upon him would definitely be extraordinary. "Come with me." The barefoot farmer waved his hand and swung his axe forward, opening up a new space-time rift. Su Yan was filled with anticipation. What would he gain next? Inheritance? Secret technique? Divine ability? Or perhaps it was something else. After entering the space-time crack, Su Yan was shocked as he caught the aura of the ancient divine weapon. "I didn't expect to be bestowed with treasures." Su Yan's heart palpitated with eagerness. He indeed needed a suitable weapon. In the mysterious world of the ancient lands, there were some treasures lying around. Huge axes appeared one after another. Some were black, some were purple, some were blood red, some were golden. Each of the axes emitted waves of the beginning of the world, as if they were natural treasures. Although he couldn't see how strong they were, the peerless sharpness that leaked out seemed to be able to cut apart the body of an immortal king. "Senior, are you giving me all the treasures here?" Su Yan's mouth was dry. He felt that any one of the axes was a supreme treasure that could shock the world. "You are thinking too much." The barefoot farmer shook his head and laughed. He pointed at the axes and said, "All the axes are raised by the creation of the world. There are strong ones and weak ones. In short, choose the most suitable axes for you. The prerequisite is that you can hold them." "Hold them? Am I not qualified to hold these treasures?" Su Yan didn't believe it and instantly activated the human-shaped puppet. However, what shocked Su Yan was that his physical body was already strong enough. Even the puppet in the Emperor Dao domain couldn't increase his combat strength by much. This also proved that Su Yan's physical body was too strong. The divine power in Su Yan's body boiled, and his strongest combat strength was unsealed. It was wild and tyrannical, and it could easily pierce through the world. This golden axe should be the strongest, right? Su Yan's big hand instantly landed on the golden axe. Who knew that the golden axe would come to life in an instant, and it surged with unparalleled, ferocious might. The world split open, and a huge crack appeared. It was like plowing through a courtyard, and it was going to split open the universe. The peerless sharpness leaked out, and Su Yan's palm was torn into pieces. His entire body was about to be destroyed. Puffed! Su Yan spat out a big mouthful of blood, and his body flew out horizontally. He fell to the ground, and it took him a long time to get up. What level of treasure is this? He was dumbfounded as he looked at his broken palm. This axe was too domineering. He couldn't even withstand a little bit of the resurrected divine power. Su Yan couldn't even lift it up with all his strength, and he was almost chopped to death. This axe was much more terrifying than the furnace of suppression. It contained an indescribable divine power of heaven and earth. Although it didn't have any order laws, it had supreme heavenly power, the most valuable treasure of the body cultivator lineage. Su Yan concluded that this was a super killing weapon, and he wasn't qualified to wield it. Hurry up, I have to hurry. 3 years' time is almost up. Su Yan quickly recovered from his injuries, and his eyes were burning. This was a rare opportunity, and he had to grasp it. Once he had the super powerful divine axe, he would be like a tiger that had grown wings. He didn't continue to try the other divine axes. These treasures were too frightening, and they could easily destroy him. Even if Su Yan had the power to take them away, he couldn't use them. They were just scrap metal by his side. This axe, at this moment, Su Yan's eyes narrowed, and his gaze fell on an inconspicuous axe. It didn't have any color, and the blade didn't have any sharpness. It was a small stone axe, and it looked as big as a fist. Su Yan inspected the small stone axe. His deep eyes were vaguely filled with dense, golden engravings. His observation ability could be said to be terrifying. He could explore the mysteries of the universe and the great treasures of the world. What was this? This was the supreme mysterious pattern diagram that Su Yan had obtained in the Copper Palace after 3 years of bitter cultivation. He immediately saw through the extraordinariness of the small stone axe. The ancient small stone axe was really born and nurtured by the heavens. The simple and unadorned axe head faintly flashed some imprints. Su Yan counted. There were a total of 3 big imprints. They were very ordinary imprints and looked like the simplest martial arts moves. Chop, chop, chop. However, under the reflection of Su Yan's eyes, the world changed. The small stone axe surged with a power that could shock the world and make ghosts and gods cry. The 3 imprints were revived, and they cut the moon and split the sky and the sea. It was as if they had cut the universe and divided the world, forming a terrifying spiritual attack. Heaven-splitting 3 axes, vaguely a dull sound exploded. The 3 imprints glowed and turned into a giant god of primal chaos. It waved the small stone axe, and the 3 killing moves seemed simple. But in fact, they turned simplicity into complexity. They condensed the supreme killing intent and evolved the power of the heaven-splitting 3 axes. The barefoot farmer was surprised. He didn't expect Su Yan to recognize the small stone axe, and he could see through the mysteries of the small stone axe. It wasn't just a terrifying treasure, but it also contained an extraordinary divine ability. Su Yan's body stood between heaven and earth. His eyes were closed, and his long black hair danced in the wind. His spiritual will was still in the heavens, splitting 3 axes, and his still body gradually moved. He waved his palm according to the martial arts of the heaven, splitting 3 axes. It's been almost 3 years, and Su Yan still hasn't come down the mountain. The world was abuzz with discussions. The number 1 mountain under the heavens was about to close, and the 5 masters had reached the peak, but Su Yan still hadn't come down the mountain. Bao Kai asked anxiously, Chaos Immortal Elder. When we came here, Su Yan said that he will definitely participate in the Immortal Demon War. Can the closing time be delayed? The shadow of the Chaos Immortal Elder was ancient and filled with fluctuations that made people's hearts palpitate. He nodded slightly and said, I know how powerful Su Yan is. He's the main member of the Immortal Demon War. Even if it's delayed for a year, it's not a problem. Bao Kai was pleasantly surprised and quickly thanked him. The Chaos Immortal Elder also valued Bao Kai very much, or he wouldn't have bothered to answer. Boom! 3 days later, the time for the first mountain to be closed came. Wave after wave of boundless auras crushed down onto the area. In an instant, everyone trembled as if they had fallen into a land of death. Who is it? Bao Cai's eyes widened. The power that was emitted was too shocking. It was the Supreme Emperor's might that he had faced back then, but now, the power that was activated was peerless and terrifying. It was much more terrifying than the immortal king that Big Goldie had killed. That was a terrifying figure that was incomparably blazing and brilliant. It was also grand to the extreme, causing the boundless cosmos to darken. It was accompanied by the rumbling of muffled thunder, shocking all of the experts in the world. They felt like a great disaster was about to befall them. Thunder Immortal Elder. Someone's voice trembled. The power he emitted contained the light of thunder that could destroy the heavens and the earth. It was as if the apocalypse was pressing down, causing the experts to feel as if they had fallen into a purgatory of thunder. Bao Cai and the others were near the Chaos Immortal Elder, so they weren't affected, but their expressions weren't good. So it's him. The experts of the myriad sects cried out in surprise and bowed in large numbers. What is he doing here? And at this juncture, Bao Cai's expression was uncertain. A great enemy had come to visit. His son, Little Thunder, had been killed by Su Yan. Thunder Immortal Elder's figure crossed the horizon. His appearance was somewhat different from the Tenrai of Beak's heroic appearance. This person was very thin and wore a thunder robe. Silver energy scattered down, vaguely revealing the aura of opening the heavens. Bao Cai muttered in his heart, was the Tenrai of Beak really his son? After all, this person's figure was too thin. I didn't expect to alarm Thunder Immortal Elder. The Tenrai of Beak is very extraordinary. His future achievements are limitless. The Chaos Immortal Elder smiled faintly. Chaos Immortal Elder. These words are a bit harsh. My useless son is only ranked second. Thunder Immortal Elder's expression was cold. He was entrenched in the sea of thunder and lightning. The sky was filled with the sound of thunder and lightning, making him look like a supreme thunder and lightning war god. Unfortunately, before my son, the Tenrai of Beak, went, he had just finished his Dao demonstration. Daesong's realm had not touched the peak yet. This sentence caused many experts to be shocked. The Tenrai of Beak was not standing at the peak of the Saint Realm. Wasn't this news too shocking? Then, if the Tenrai of Beak was standing at the peak of the Saint Realm, it was hard to say who would come out on top this time. Grandma Wong praises herself for selling melons. Bao Cai cursed in his heart. Why didn't she directly say that her son, the Tenrai of Beak, was invincible in the world? He was not inferior to Su Yan at all. Then I really have to congratulate you. The Chaos Immortal Elder's tone was calm. His figure was in the sea of chaos, and his power was not inferior to Thunder Immortal Elder's. He replied, why did you come all the way here? In short, the two experts looked calm, but in fact, supreme heavenly power surged. Immortal King aura spread, full of destructive immortal Dao power. It shocked all the experts in the world and made them tremble. They did not dare to breathe loudly. Immortal kings were indeed immortal kings. They had absolute combat power and were extremely powerful. They were above all living beings. Chaos Immortal Elder. The great war between immortals and demons is about to begin. It is a major event of the immortal world. In order to prepare for the war, the Immortal Cave has lost a lot of resources. Thunder Immortal Elder said indifferently, the number 1 mountain in the world is already closed. After all, wasting a day is a great loss to the immortal world. In my opinion, let's seal the mountain now. This old thing, Bamboo Moon, was furious. Once the mountain was sealed, Su Yan would stay in the first mountain forever. Chapter 1934. That won't do. Su Yan is still on the mountain. He is one of the main members of the Immortal Demon Great War. Chaos Immortal Elder shook his head slightly, feeling a bit unhappy. After all, he was in charge of opening and maintaining order on the first mountain. Wasn't Thunder Immortal Elder meddling too much? He even wanted to close it immediately according to his wishes. Baocai's expression changed continuously. Fortunately, Chaos Immortal Elder spoke up for Su Yin. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Once the first mountain was closed, it would be a nightmare for Su Yin. Thunder Immortal Elder waved his sleeve, and an enormous golden list floated in the air. One after another, brilliant words appeared one after another. These were the names of the top 10 war gods. Every single one of them was a glorious figure. It was as if 10 great suns were descending from the sky. Top 10 war gods. The younger generation all paled. There were also girls who screamed, making the atmosphere in this region go berserk to the extreme. They were all glorious figures, representing the pinnacle of Immortal World's younger generation. They were going to fight a bloody battle with the strongest Overlord of Dark World. Any victor would be a heaven's pride of Immortal World, an unrivaled and undefeatable hero. Similarly, once they were on the list, it was enough to prove the strength and apex of the top 10 war gods. The entire world was in discussion. They didn't expect that the names had already been decided. It really made them apprehensive. Similarly, the Immortal Demon Great War was about to start. Time was already extremely limited. Heavenly Dragon Lady actually came out of seclusion. Someone said with a trembling voice, "Seems like Heavenly Dragon Lady is the leading expert of the top 10. The younger generation discussed excitedly. Heavenly Dragon Lady was a peak hero of Immortal World. She had participated in at least 5 or 6 Immortal Demon Great Wars without any defeat. This person's name was only slightly inferior to Emperor Lady's. Once there was this kind of heavyweight leading the team, it was enough to calm the hearts of the people. Moreover, there was Heavenly Tao King, Heavenly Martial King, these types of glorious figures. The next 3 were Tenrai of Beach, Barbarian God, and Tai Baocai. Chaos Immortal Elder's expression was a bit gloomy. He didn't expect Immortal Elder Academy to have already decided the names of the top 10 participants. Yet no one informed him. This was a bit too much. This matter is urgent. After all, the Immortal Demon Great War is about to start. Thunder Immortal Elder smiled and said, "I didn't have the time to tell Chaos Immortal Elder. After all, the number 1 mountain under the heavens is of great importance, and order cannot be lost. You'll have to bear with it." Thunder Immortal Elder's lineage was extremely ancient. This lineage also controlled the heaven-opening lightning scripture. Their status in the immortal realm was too high. They were on the same level as the Emperor clans. According to rumors, the ancestors of the Tenrai of Beach had once participated in the construction of the Immortal Cave. One could imagine the influence of the Tenrai of Beach in the Cave of the Immortals. It was equivalent to half of the Master of the Cave of the Immortals. Their words carried great weight. Su Yin dominated the first mountain. Why didn't you give him a spot? Baocai was flustered and exasperated. He stood up for Su Yin and asked, "There's still time. Why don't you wait?" "How dare you?" Thunder Immortal Elder was furious. His words rumbled by Baocai's ears like thunder, crushing it until its entire body trembled, as if it was about to break apart. Big Gold was furious. As soon as it was about to rush over, it was immediately pulled back by Mu Xian. Her forehead was also covered in cold sweat. Big Gold definitely couldn't take action, or else he would be targeted by all the experts in the world. He most likely wouldn't be able to leave the first mountain. Baocai coughed out blood, about to explode. Its eyes were red as it released a low roar. This old thing was bullying others too far. It only spoke a single sentence, yet who would have thought it would be directly suppressed? Thunder Immortal Elder, you're going too far. The Chaos Immortal Elder was shocked and furious. He raised his hand to steady Baocai's body and shouted, "It only asked a single question. Is there need to act so viciously? Where is Immortal Elder Academy? The decree has already been passed down. How can a little vicious beast be allowed to criticize us?" Thunder Immortal Elder was extremely dignified. His ancient and imposing figure filled the sea of stars. His voice rang through the mountains, rivers, and great earth, making all souls tremble. The decree is the decree. Who dares to defy and question it? In short, The 10 great quotas have already been decided. Immediately close the number 1 mountain under the heavens to prevent the resources from being wasted. Thunder Immortal Elder carried an unquestionable tone, not giving the Chaos Immortal Elder any face. I do not agree. With Su Yan's potential, we can activate Immortal Elder Academy's emergency plan. The Chaos Immortal Elder shook his head. Chaos Immortal Elder. Thunder Immortal Elder frowned and said, "Let's not talk about whether or not Su Yan actually broke through the ultimate land of refinement. Even if he really did, it will still take a long time before he can leave the mountain. My Immortal Cave's resources have no reason to waste them on someone from the lower realm who didn't participate in the Immortal Devil Great War." Thunder Immortal Elder, your words are going too far. Aren't you scared of disappointing others? The Savage Race's old expert suddenly stood out, creating a huge impact. This was the Savage Race's great elder, Man Long Tian. Even though he was already quite old, his declining blood and chi were still surging. Man Long Tian was like an old azure dragon. His voice was heavy, making heaven and earth resonate as he said, "It is exactly as you said. Did Su Yan really break through the most powerful land of refinement? This matter is extremely important, but you directly sent my barbarian god to the land of refinement. How are you going to let the Chaos Immortal Elder receive the news immediately?" Motherf Asterisker. Bao Kai exploded in anger and roared. "No wonder Brother Barbarian God didn't come all this time. He originally came to restrict my freedom. Thunder Immortal Elder, are you scared that Su Yan will steal your son's prestige? You are persecuting Su Yan like this. What exactly are your intentions? Evil creature, you really have guts. This old one cares about the barbarian god, and let him grow in a place of natural luck so that he can accumulate more resources and seize victory for the immortal world. It is instead this old one's fault." Thunder Immortal Elder was furious. Bone-chilling lightning appeared in his eyes, as if it was shot out from purgatory. Man Long Tian wasn't afraid at all. He raised his hand to block the pressure that Bao Kai was under. He frowned and said, "Tai Bao Kai is the 4th contestant of the first mountain. Aren't you going a bit too far by oppressing him like this? I was wondering why you were so rude and unreasonable to this old one." Thunder Immortal Elder said coldly and angrily, "So it is because you have some prestige. No wonder you dare to talk back to this old one. Also, you're so anxious to speak up for Su Yan. You should know that once Su Yan leaves the mountain, you will lose the right to participate in the war. Or perhaps you are afraid and don't dare to go to the Immortal Demon battlefield?" Everyone was shocked. They felt that Thunder Immortal Elder's words were somewhat reasonable. After all, participating in the war of immortals and demons was a supreme honor. Who would be willing to refuse? Thunder Immortal Elder, the 5th person to reach the peak of the first mountain, walked out. He bowed and said, "This junior is willing to go to the Immortal Demon battlefield in place of Tai Bao Kai. Even if I die, I will not retreat half a step." "Good, haha, very good." Thunder Immortal Elder was extremely happy. He said with a smile, "You are very good. You are not afraid of death. Very good. The Immortal Demon Great War requires Immortal Realm warriors who are not afraid of death. If you are afraid of going, you will only bring shame to the Immortal Realm." Tai Bao Kai was so angry that his face turned ashen. This dog had said that he was useless with just a few words, and even labeled him as someone who was greedy for life and afraid of death. This was too vicious. What are you still hesitating for? Even if Su Yan really did break through the ultimate land of refinement and is worthy of Dali's nurturing, you can wait until the next first mountain opens. Thunder Immortal Elder spoke again. Everyone says that the Immortal Elder of the Immortal Academy is impartial. I never thought that because of personal grudges, you would treat Su Yan like this. Bamboo Moon angrily walked out and said, "You say it so casually. Do you know what waiting for the next opening means for Su Yan? You are becoming more and more impudent." Thunder Immortal Elder's expression was slightly gloomy. He shouted, "What does a little girl know? Over the years, all the peerless geniuses of the Immortal Cave can hibernate and contribute to the immortal world. Why can't Su Yin do the same? I heard that he even rejected the Immortal Cave's invitation back then. This child is too selfish. I support Thunder Immortal Elder's words. People of the Xian people stood out and said very directly, Su Yin belongs to the human world, not the immortal world. The Immortal Cave was built by gathering all the resources of the immortal world. There is no reason to waste it for Su Yin. That's right. My reincarnation imperial family also supports it. My starry sky imperial family also supports it. Since Su Yin won't participate in the immortal demon war, it shouldn't be a big deal to let him guard the first mountain for a few days, right? After all, once the first mountain is sealed, Su Yin will also be sealed. Wouldn't it be better to just wait for him to come out in the future? Why waste resources to wait for an uncertain person? Members of the imperial family stood out one after another to support Thunder Immortal Elder. This caused a huge commotion. Many people were dumbfounded. This Su Yin was really unlucky. Didn't he provoke too many enemies? Chaos Immortal Elder's expression was ugly. These people were completely forcing him to close the first mountain. Boom! Suddenly, a blazing majestic aura rose from the distant world, shaking the heavens and the starry sky. Extremely ridiculous. The old monkey came and scolded angrily. The resources of the Immortal Cave were given by all the races in the world. It gathered the most precious resources of all the races in the world. Su Yin broke the ultimate trial ground. How dare you deliberately target him? What are your intentions? Wasting resources? The old monkey was very domineering. He said angrily, "This is the biggest joke in the world. You, Thunder Immortal Elder, personally requested to open the first mountain. Why didn't you say it was a waste of resources at that time?" The Xian people were furious. A damn monkey jumped out. Did he really think that the Heavenly Monkey Clan was an imperial family? Thunder Immortal Elder was shocked and angry. He pointed at the Monkey King and scolded, "Good, Heavenly Monkey King. I see that your wings have really hardened. The top 10 contestants have been decided. The resources of the Immortal Cave have also proved that it was not a waste. The first person of the first mountain is one of the strongest contestants selected by opening the first mountain's resources." The old monkey roared and walked over. His terrifying, majestic aura made the stars tremble. His words were like divine thunder from the 9 heavens. The strongest contestant broke the ultimate trial ground. What does this mean? I think you've lost your mind. Heaven and earth trembled. The old monkey's battle aura was too strong. His divine might filled every inch of the void, causing many people to tremble. Everyone was shocked. What was the relationship between the old monkey and Su Yin? "You impudent!" Thunder Immortal Elder's eyes widened in anger. He pointed at him and shouted, "Whether Su Yin broke the ultimate trial ground or not, it's still undetermined." Thunder Immortal Elder, what do you mean by undetermined? In an instant, another terrifying, majestic figure walked over. Even though he wasn't an immortal king, his expression and majesty shocked the world. "Tao Protector!" The nobles all over the world cried out. Many people roared fanatically. The Phoenix King who established the 10 great armies of the immortal world was fully deserving of the title of peak war god. Back then, he even forcefully slaughtered his way through the 3 realms battlefield, killing 2 great immortal kings of the dark world. He was fully deserving of the title of Overlord war god. Even though he wasn't an immortal king, his divine might was still there. His influence was still world-shocking. With a wave of his arm, he could cause a huge response in the immortal world. Not only did the Phoenix King come, the barbarian god also came. Su Yin broke the ultimate trial ground. I saw it with my own eyes. The barbarian god spoke in a low and muffled voice. He never thought that such a powerful Ingjia would encounter such unfair treatment. Back then, the first mountain was delayed for an entire 10 years because of the Phoenix Girl. Why couldn't Su Yin do it? He had the qualifications. I suggest that we delay the closing of the first mountain. Barbarian Longtian laughed as he stood beside the Chaos Immortal Elder. The atmosphere became a bit stifling. Thunder Immortal Elder's expression was uncertain. He never thought that the Phoenix King would bring the barbarian god out. This old man also suggests that the people of the Celestials arrived. Tian Yangbing walked out with a smile. I knew that Su Yin wasn't a fish in a pond. If that's the case, after breaking the ultimate trial ground, he's qualified to stand shoulder to shoulder with the princess and the young emperor. Ridiculous. The people of the Xian people were angry. What right did Su Yin have to stand shoulder to shoulder with the young emperor? Thunder Immortal Elder was even more direct. He said coldly, stand shoulder to shoulder with the princess and the others? Can a puny Su Yin bear the burden? Thump, thump, thump. Suddenly, a series of footsteps reverberated through the surroundings, breaking the silence. Many people were stunned. They saw a young man coming down the mountain from afar. He was playing with a small stone axe in his hand.